Chapter 356. A formless scarlet flame enveloped Luo Li's entire body. The temperature in the arena rose rapidly, and the frost iron under his feet became shockingly hot. Xiao Chan felt like his windwalk shoes were being roasted by a furnace. The soles of his feet felt extremely uncomfortable. Just as Xiao Chan was about to circulate his essence to resist, a cool breeze blew from the windwalk shoes. The temperature immediately dropped. Unexpectedly, the windwalk shoes had such a function. This inadvertently helped Xiao Chan a lot. When Xiao Chan saw the situation, he stopped moving. This move contains the vermilion bird sword chi that contains a peak state. Let's see how you break it, Luo Li said coldly as his aura reached its peak. Luo Li's entire body became like a sharp, bright red sword. He held two fingers on his right hand together and pointed at Xiao Chan. A scarlet sword chi quickly appeared. It gave off a piercing sonic boom as it shot toward Xiao Chan. Its speed was very close to the speed of sound. The scarlet flaming sword chi contained a state was extremely sharp. Before it got close, Xiao Chan could already feel its sharpness. Xiao Chan moved back gently and moved at lightning speed. He decided to avoid the sharpness for now. Z. A finger-sized hole immediately appeared where Xiao Chan originally stood. Unexpectedly, it pierced through the frost iron. The terrifyingly high temperature caused the frost iron to sizzle and steam to rise. Chi. Strands of scarlet sword chi rained down like arrows. Xiao Chan retreated again and again. You think you can retreat? Haha. I have a total of 999 strands of sword chi in this move. Let's see how you can retreat. Stand down and die. Luo Li laughed maniacally in the air as he watched Xiao Chan retreat. The vermilion bird image behind him flapped its wings continuously. When Xiao Chan saw the vermilion bird flapping its wings behind him, he entered deep thought. He muttered to himself, so that's how it is. Suddenly, Luo Li's feet left the ground. Half of his body was already dangling at the edge of the arena. The hearts of the spectators jumped. The entire place immediately fell eerily silent. Is Yichen going to be defeated as well? Everyone thought unwillingly. The state of thunder that had already gathered in the air churned ferociously. Muffled thunder roared continuously. Arclight slash. With a shout, Xiao Chan swung his saber. The purple saber chi drew a long arc in the air. The end of the arc was pointed at the vermilion bird image behind Luo Li. Creak. With a painful wail, the vermilion bird stopped flapping its wings as if it had been struck by lightning. Bang! When the attacks landed on the vermilion bird, it was like they landed on Roly himself. Roly fell heavily to the ground with a pale complexion. The sword chi that filled the sky immediately disappeared above Xiao Chen's head. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. His white robes fluttered in the wind as he walked forward. Damn it! When Luo Li saw the relaxed Xiao Chan, he roared ferociously and smashed the ground with his right palm. Hu Chi! Hu Chi! Instantly, countless small red, flaming birds flew out from the ground. They chirped continuously, filling the sky with red, flaming birds. Each of these flaming birds could easily blast apart a small mound. With so many of them, they would be able to flatten a mountain. Wu Kuei transforms to Qi. Xiao Chan brandished his saber as he advanced step by step. The divine Wu Kuei tree appeared from nowhere and turned into strands of dense purple saber chi. The purple saber chi flew everywhere in the air, shattering the flaming birds into sparks and shattering them. Sparks filled the sky and deafening explosions resounded above Xiao Chen's head. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He walked at a moderate pace as his white robes fluttered. He continued to walk towards Roly, who was on the ground. Aha! You actually dared to get so close to me. Do you really think this move is over? 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix combine. Roly laughed maniacally from the ground. The countless sparks in the air immediately gathered at a certain point. A horrifying aura spread out, and a fiery red vermilion bird quickly formed in the air. Chi breaks Wu Kuei break. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He did not stop moving as he formed hand seals with his left hand. The drifting purple energy in the air quickly gathered together with Xiao Qian's hand seals. When the vermilion bird completely formed, a strand of dense purple saber chi flew out at lightning speed. In an instant, it shattered the vermilion bird that had just formed into dust. Not good, Elder Yin, who was in the spectator stands, thought to himself as he watched Xiao Qian slowly walk over with a calm expression. Elder Yan's expression changed slightly as he sent a voice projection to the other man behind him. Luo Huang, Roly might be defeated. Prepare to make a move at any time. 3 moves have passed. You are full of openings. You are here to embarrass yourself. I hope you can receive 3 moves from me. Xiao Qian said calmly as he looked at Roly, who had an expression of disbelief on his face. This was not the first time Roly had said this to the people he knocked off the arena. When he heard Xiao Qian return it to him, he felt humiliated in his heart. Do you think you have one? I still have not used my holy might. How can an ordinary person like you understand the horror of a holy might? Roly said with a sinister expression. Originally, Roly thought that he could defeat his opponent without using his holy might. That way, he would be able to humiliate his opponent even more. Now, it looked like he was the one being humiliated. The vermilion bird above his dantian cried out. Immediately, a strand of vast holy might shot at Xiao Qian. Blue dragon, cloud, soaring art. Roaming dragons, 9 transformations. Xiao Qian pushed off the ground and instantly split into 9. 9 cool breezes blew in the arena. Xiao Qian's killing chi was completely gone. No one could even feel his killing intent. How can this be? My holy might, which has always been successful, is actually useless. My opponent's movements are perfect and flawless. It does not look like he is affected by the holy might at all. Roly's expression changed drastically. This time, he finally felt some horror. He quickly retreated, but the 9 figures had already surrounded him. The cool breezes hid a boundless killing intent. There was no way for him to retreat. The 9 silhouettes merged together in the air. The killing intent that had disappeared suddenly exploded, covering the sky and covering the earth, covering the entire arena, making it impossible for anyone to hide. This made Roly feel that he was so close to death for the first time. Aside from the holy might, he was just a top-notch genius. His strength was close to that of Duanmuking and the others, perhaps even slightly weaker. Now that the holy might had lost its effect, Roly's heart was in complete chaos. Furthermore, the overwhelming killing chi immediately made him lose his wits. A resplendent saber light immediately lit up on the snow-white saber. Then, it stabbed into Roly's chest 10 centimeters away. This was Xiao Qian holding back. Otherwise, this saber would have stabbed into Roly's heart. The vermilion bird embroidered in golden thread on the scarlet robes suddenly lit up with a golden light. The resplendent golden light prevented Xiao Qian's saber from stabbing into the robes. It is actually a secret treasure. The people of the Holy Land are really generous. Even an outer disciple has a defensive secret treasure, Xiao Qian thought to himself. Roly's pale complexion immediately regained its color. He laughed loudly and said, I nearly forgot. I have a secret treasure with me. You cannot injure me. This robe is an imitation of an ancient secret treasure, the golden jade robes. However, it is useless to tell you. You're just a lower realm bumpkin. You probably do not even know what a secret treasure is. Ha ha ha. Ignorant. The people of the Holy Land are actually so ignorant. Xiao Qian was speechless. With a thought, a strand of the state of massacre on the scarlet throne quickly flowed out. Roly's smile froze very quickly. Suddenly, a red light appeared on the dazzling purple saber. With a chi sound, the tip of the saber easily pierced through Roly's robes. Blood spurted out of the wound. Roly grabbed the saber with his hand and said in a fluster, How can I be injured? A lower realm bumpkin actually injured me. One move. Xiao Qian quickly withdrew his saber. Drops of blood dripped from the tip of the saber onto the arena. Bang! Xiao Qian gently raised his right foot and stomped down heavily. After the dragon and tiger body sculpting art reached consummation, this was the first time he used the full strength of his physical body. Countless cracks instantly appeared on the surface of the arena, which was made of frost iron. The cracks spread rapidly, and countless pieces of frost iron flew into the air with a loud boom. The huge force sent Roly flying uncontrollably. His complexion paled, and he vomited another mouthful of blood. This kick contained 50,000 kilograms of force. If it landed on his opponent's chest, it would be sufficient to shatter his internal organs and severely injure him to death. For the third move, I will return a palm strike to you. You're not qualified to say whether the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is trash or not. As for you, without the Vermilion Burr martial spirit, you are just trash. On the platform, Luo Huan's expression changed slightly. He pushed off the ground and turned into a beam of red light, flying over quickly. He shouted, "Stop!" Xiao Chun could not be bothered with Luo Li. He stood up and sent a palm strike at Ro Li's chest. Ro Li's body immediately shot backward like a cannonball. Luo Huang caught Ro Li's body in midair. However, he did not expect the force in Ro Li's body to be so ferocious. It was like catching a mountain. A muffled sound came from Ro Li's chest. His body soared up and quickly spun in the air, trying to dissipate the force. Good. This time, the many cultivators in the spectator stands could no longer suppress the excitement in their hearts. They all shouted out loud. Many of the cultivators who went up earlier were all sent flying by Ro Li's palm strike. Then, he spoke extremely humiliating words. Many people wanted to step forward and send out a palm strike. However, they did not have the strength to do so, but they could only suppress it in their hearts. Xiao Chen's palm strike and his words struck the bottom of their hearts. They vented the anger they had been suppressing in their hearts. On the platform, Lu Ryue looked at Xiao Chun, whose white robes fluttered in the wind. There was an indescribable smile in her eyes. At a tea table not far away, Yun Kersin, who was similarly dressed in white, watched Xiao Chun. She revealed a faint smile on her delicate face and said softly, "This is the sharpness that a bladesman should have. Who cares what holy land it is? If you humiliate me, I will return it tenfold, 100-fold." A golden warship floated above the clouds 10,000 meters in the sky. A golden flag fluttered on the bow of the warship. This was the incomparably huge flagship of the Imperial Dragon Legion. The beautiful Princess Ingyu, who wore golden battle armor, was playing with a wooden sculpture on the deck. The girl depicted on the sculpture wore a long red dress. She was extremely beautiful and very lifelike. This was especially so for her intelligent eyes. They made the sculpture seem alive, showing the exquisite craftsmanship of the person who carved it. Chapter 357. It no longer looked like an inanimate object. Instead, it looked like an absolute beauty that could come to life at any moment. The girl in the statue was Princess Ingyu herself. Ingyu smiled gently and said, "Not bad. You hand in your homework every month. Furthermore, they are all different." Nangong Lai, who was not far away, had a wide smile on his face. He said, "This brat unintentionally helped us a lot this time. The legend of the Holy Land will become a joke." Ingyu withdrew her smile and put away the statue with a flip of her hand. She peered through the boundless clouds and saw the situation in the drill grounds. She muttered, "There is no such thing as a true legend in this world. However, this time, he really helped us greatly." In the desolate back mountains of the Lingyun mountain range, where the reincarnation well was, 8 old men in red robes were carefully inspecting the seal in the reincarnation well. Suddenly, the expression of the leading old man changed. He raised his head and looked in the direction of the heaven viewing platform. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion's 9th elder, who was beside him, asked cautiously, "Elder Luo, did something happen?" The 9th elder could not help but feel nervous. The old man before him was an intersect elder of the Phoenix's Passion Palace, ranked 6th. His words already carried some weight in the intersect. The outer sect elders could not compare to him. His cultivation was unfathomable. The person responsible for repairing the seal this time was this person. Elder Luo withdrew his gaze, and an imperceptible rage flashed in his eyes. He smiled faintly and said, "It's fine. The seal is much better than I expected. Who knows, we might be able to repair this spatial crack. Even if we cannot, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will not have to worry about a demonic calamity within 100 years." Luo Huang, who had finally recovered from the force, landed firmly on the heaven viewing platform's drill grounds. He gently placed Luo Li down and glared at Xiao Chun angrily. "Friend, aren't you a little too heavy-handed? I already said to stop," Luo Huang said with a cold gaze and a sullen expression. "What a joke. Now you know that you are too heavy-handed and say to stop. Earlier, Luo Li injured so many people. Why did you not say to stop? It seems like we are not humans in your eyes." Xiao Chen replied indifferently. "My skills are inferior. What's the point of saying so much?" Luo Huang laughed coldly and said in an icy voice, "What a good, I am inferior to you. In that case, if I kill you now, you will have nothing to say, right?" When Xiao Chan felt the other party's killing chi, he moved back slightly and adjusted his body's condition to its limits. He said softly, "You can't do it. How much stronger are you compared to him? Holy might is useless against me. In my eyes, you're just ordinary martial saint experts." Reckless fool. With a flip of his palm, a sword appeared in Luo Huang's hand. Killing chi gushed out from his entire body. Sword light danced as he executed a killing move, flying toward Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun was fearless. He held his saber with one hand and flew into the air. Clang, clang, clang. The two of them crossed each other in the air, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. Their weapons clashed, and the sound of metal clanging rang out continuously. After they parted, the two of them quickly turned around and started fighting again. Each move was more dangerous than the previous. They did not leave any leeway for themselves. Saber chi and sword chi flew everywhere in the arena. The strong frost iron was riddled with holes from the shockwaves of the two's attacks. It was beyond recognition. Soon, the arena that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had prepared meticulously shattered. It became a scene of desolation. There was no place that was even. The two of them were cultivators who comprehended states. Every move they made caused intense energy fluctuations in the surroundings. Occasionally, there would be sparks and lightning in the surroundings of the battle. However, Xiao Chen's state had merged with his blue dragon's holy might. Furthermore, it had undergone the baptism of the heavenly Daos. It was much stronger than his opponents. After 200 moves, Luo Huang slowly fell into a disadvantage. Xiao Chun pressed on, not wanting to give his opponent a chance to go all out. He infused his strong state of thunder into the state of massacre once again. A red light appeared in the purple saber light. The sharp state of massacre instantly turned the berserk state of thunder sharp and horrifying. Bang! 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 Xiao Chun brandished his saber thrice, breaking his opponent's sword technique like breaking dead branches. When faced with Xiao Chen's sudden increase in saber technique, Luo Huang was clearly caught off guard. Luo Huang, who was already at a disadvantage, lost all his sword technique. He looked like he was about to lose. Ding! Xiao Chen knocked away Luo Huang's sword with his saber. Then, he leaned forward and sheathed his saber. Then, he sent a palm strike at his opponent's chest. Luo Huang vomited a large mouthful of blood and flew out of the arena. The second person from Holy Land had been defeated by Xiao Chun with one palm strike. Senior Brother Luo, the two Holy Land female disciples on the platform exclaimed. They flew over and caught Luo Huang. After the two girls treated Luo Huang's injuries, they did not say anything. They just drew their swords and flew into the arena, charging at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said, "If one is not enough, then the two of you attack together. However, if you are not strong enough, what is the point of having more people?" Kassier. Xiao Chun drew the lunar shadow saber again and executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art. Then, he activated the windwalk shoes. Originally, Xiao Chen's heaven-ranked movement technique already allowed him to be much faster than regular cultivators. Now, with the windwalk shoes and the clear wind robes, his speed increased by 30%, reaching Mach 2. Only a white figure could be seen in the arena, moving around. Boundless saber chi appeared and disappeared mysteriously. By relying on his advantage in speed, Xiao Chun fought 1 against 2. Unexpectedly, he held a suppressive advantage. He suppressed the 2 Phoenix's Passion Palace female disciples to the point where they could not even retaliate. They could only bitterly endure and deal with Xiao Chen's unpredictable attacks. It was a one-sided situation. After the 100 moves were over, Xiao Chun infused in the state of massacre once again. Xiao Chen's saber technique immediately became twice as sharp as before. The strong force knocked away the swords of the 2 people. Bang! Bang! Xiao Chun sent out 2 palm winds, and the 2 female disciples from the Holy Land followed in his footsteps again. They were knocked off the arena with 1 palm strike. The spectators' stands were deathly silent. They all looked at Xiao Chun with astonished gazes. Originally, they thought that it would be pretty good if Xiao Chun could help them vent their frustrations. However, he defeated 4 people from the Holy Land in one go. How strong was he? It was not just these people who did not expect this. The other people on the platform did not expect this either. Even Elder Yan's face was filled with shock. His eyes filled with disbelief. His brain short-circuited. Although these disciples were ranked in the top 100 of the outer sect, they were peak geniuses in the lower realm. How could someone defeat them all in one go? Mu Qingxue, who was on the platform, took a sip of tea. Then, he slowly put down the teacup and looked at the white-robed Xiao Chun in the arena. Mu Qingxue revealed a playful smile as he said indifferently, "I love watching people fall from the clouds to the bottom of the valley. The higher you fly, the more painful the fall will be. Today, I will throw you to your death." After Mu Qingxue spoke, the rapidly spinning copper mirror in the boundless depths of his right eye suddenly stopped spinning. A beam of white light tore through the air and shot out. The white light did not contain any killing chi. It was silent and did not give off any energy fluctuations. Before Xiao Chun could react, the white light struck him. In the next moment, Xiao Chun was startled. The bones in his face started to change rapidly. Xiao Chun wanted to stop it, but that strange white light turned all of his efforts into nothing. No matter what he did, he could not stop it. Xiao Chun used the shape-shifting spell and slowly recovered his appearance. His originally delicate and ordinary face, aside from his fair complexion, had turned into a handsome and elegant young man with well-defined features. The people in the spectator stands were no stranger to this face. This was because there was a wanted poster of this person in every big city within the Great Qi Nation. As long as one entered or exited a big city, they would be attracted by this huge wanted poster. Many of them even had thoughts of capturing this person and claiming the reward. On the platform, the various noble clans' heirs were no stranger to this face. If this person was not the Xiao Chun that they had been searching for more than a year, who else could it be? On the platform, the Gi Marquis, Duan Muking, Ji Chongkong, Hua Yunfei, Shi Feng, and Yin Qishua's expressions all changed greatly. The noble clan elders behind them all had sullen expressions as well. Although they had already expected this, when the result appeared before their eyes, they were still caught unprepared. The person who had been wanted for such a long time was actually hiding in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Furthermore, he had become the strongest of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's 3rd-generation disciples, his name shaking the Shiha province. Lu Ryue's expression changed slightly. She was somewhat astonished as she said, "Yi Chun? How could it be Xiao Chun?" Everyone in the spectators' stands could not accept this fact. Earlier, Yi Chun was a genius disciple of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, he had become a wanted criminal of the noble clans. Who? After Duan Muking, Ji Chongkong, Hua Yunfei, and the Gi Marquis recovered their wits, their figures flashed, and they landed firmly on the ground. Hua Yunfei looked at Xiao Chun and smiled coldly. "You killed my clan's elder and hid for more than a year. So, you were hiding in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. No wonder I cannot find you. Even if the Heavenly Saber Pavilion protects you today, you will not be able to escape death. You killed my uncle. You have to stay here today." Ji Chongkong said expressionlessly as stars flickered in his eyes. There was no expression on Duan Muqing's cold face. She said indifferently, "Between you and me, we can only fight." The Guy Marquis wore golden battle armor and slowly drew his holy weapon, the sky-splitting sword. He pointed it at Xiao Chun and said, "No one has ever survived after injuring me." Who? Who? A figure flashed over. It was the Shiha province's Yin clan's Yin Qixue. Yin Qixue looked at Xiao Chun and said indifferently, "My second brother's whereabouts are unknown because of you. I will not make things difficult for you. I will just leave behind an arm." Ha ha ha. A burst of maniacal laughter came from the sky. It was Shi Feng flying over quickly. He said in a loud voice, "Xiao Chun, you did not expect such a day to come, right? Back then, you humiliated me in Shiha City. Today, I will trample on you ruthlessly." Xiao Chun closed his eyes and looked at Shi Feng flying over. He thought to himself, "It seems like anyone can step on me. However, who do you think you are, Shi Feng? How dare you shout at me?" Xiao Chun suddenly opened his eyes. A murderous intent appeared on his sharp face. Chapter 358. Xiao Chen's originally reserved aura was no longer hidden. His sharpness was unrestrained. He pushed off the ground and soared into the air. The dragon and tiger body sculpting art circulated at full force. The roars of dragons and tigers came from the acupoints in his body. Dragons and tigers circled around him as Xiao Chun opened his fingers. His knuckles crackled. Xiao Chen's figure shifted slightly, and he dodged Shi Feng's attack. Then he punched Shi Feng's chest. "Kassier! Kassier!" The rock in front of Shi Feng's chest shattered. He vomited a mouthful of blood in the air and flew back. He landed on the tea table in the Night Spirit Palace. Mu Qingxue was about to place the teacup down when Shi Feng smashed the tea table into smithereens, leaving it hanging in the air. When Mu Qingxue saw the pale Shi Feng in a sorry state, he smiled and said indifferently, "Junior brother Shi, you are so weak. Why'd you like to join in on the fun?" Shi Feng felt very depressed. He felt that at least 5 of his ribs were broken. His internal organs were also injured. He had internal injuries and external injuries. He had completely lost his combat prowess. What a disgrace. Stand back. Don't embarrass the Night Spirit Palace. The Night Spirit Palace's first elder said with an extremely sullen expression. Shi Feng struggled to stand up. He felt guilty in his heart. He lowered his head and did not dare to retort. Mu Qingxue gently let go of the teacup in his hand. The teacup immediately fell to the ground. However, it did not shatter like Mu Qingxue expected. Instead, it did not move at all. It is a little lively. Not just anyone can join in. Mu Qingxue picked up his beauty under the moon sword and leaped into the air. Then, he appeared in the arena. Mu Qingxue looked at the white-robed Xiao Chun, who had already recovered his true appearance. He smiled gently and said, "There is still an unfinished battle between you and me. Let's end it today." Xiao Chun remained expressionless as he looked at Mu Qingxue quietly. He did not expect this person to be so shrewd. Mu Qingxue had discovered his true identity long ago, but did not expose it. Today, his identity was exposed before the world, forcing him into a dead end. The people in the spectator stands were all shocked. The 6 noble clans worked together to put out a bounty on Xiao Chen's head. This was already unprecedented in the history of the great Qin nation. At this moment, another great sect had appeared. The chief disciple of the Night Spirit Palace, Mu Qingxue, also had a grudge against Xiao Chun. If he were to include the fact that he had just injured the people from the Holy Lands, then he would have offended even the Holy Lands. There would definitely not be another person with such boldness in the future. Even if the Heavenly Saber Pavilion wanted to protect Xiao Chun, they would have to think twice before doing so. The 3 strongest aristocratic clans, the Guy Marquis, who held a high position in the prince's residence, and the Night Spirit Palace, one of the 3 great sections. With so many strong powers, they could sweep through half of the world. Who would dare to offend all of them? Only Xiao Chun would dare to do so. If you want to kill Xiao Chun, ask me, Lu Riyue, first. A pretty figure on the platform drew a small saber in her hand. A strong aura of a martial king surged out and blocked in front of Xiao Chun. When Xiao Chun saw Lu Ruyue's back, he could not help but feel a warmth in his heart. Only Lu Ruyue would protect him at the first moment. Although I, Lu Suifeng, am not strong enough, if anyone wants to kill my brother, they will have to ask me first. Lu Suifeng had rushed over as well. The noble clans also want to kill people in my heavenly saber pavilion. I, Mu Chun Zhonglai, will not allow it. Zhonglai and Mu Chun, who were in the spectator stands, flew over as well, blocking in front of Xiao Chun. Bye. You have to protect elder brother Xiao Chun as well. If anyone wants to kill elder brother Xiao Chun, I will make a move on him. On the platform, the originally excited Bai was stunned when he saw the sudden situation. He did not know what was going on. After he figured out that someone wanted to kill Xiao Chun, his delicate face immediately sank. Huchi, another white figure flew over in a flash. It was as quiet as a falling leaf. It was Yin Kursin, standing on the platform. She placed her right hand on the saber hilt at her waist, blocking in front of Xiao Chun. She did not say anything, but her actions clearly showed her attitude. If you want to kill Xiao Chun, you will have to ask for my saber's permission first. On the spacious arena, the scene of the two sides facing each other appeared. Boundless killing intent filled the air. Boundless killing chi spread out in the air above the arena. Both sides did not give way, clashing with each other. Winds blew, clouds churned, and the sky changed color. Before the previous wave had settled, another wave rose. The crowd originally thought that Xiao Chun had entered a dead end. They did not expect so many people to come out to protect him. At this moment, if one asked who was in the happiest mood, it would be Song Quebec. The others felt conflicted in their hearts, but Song Ke felt carefree. Originally, they thought that Xiao Chun had outstanding talent and had caught the attention of the Elders' Assembly. However, now they discovered that Xiao Chun was a wanted criminal. Furthermore, he was wanted by the big powers of the Great Qin nation at the same time. His chance had come again. Heavens will made a fool out of people. There was a glimmer of hope at the darkest hour. What else was worth being happy about? When Song Ke thought of this, he could not help but laugh. He said loudly, "First Elder, this Xiao Chun hid his identity and entered our heavenly saber pavilion. He has ulterior motives. He wants to draw the conflict between the heavenly saber pavilion, the holy lands, and the noble clans to the heavenly saber pavilion. He is simply trying to destroy our heavenly saber pavilion, destroying our 10,000 years of foundation. His intentions are sinister and vicious. He must be killed." Song Ke used his identity as the Biyun Peak's peak master to throw a few hats at Xiao Chun. He wanted to consign him to eternal damnation. Jiang Qi looked coldly at Song Ke and ignored his words. He projected his voice and sent a voice transmission to Xiao Chun. "I don't care what your identity is. I only have one question. Are you going to join the Divine Saber Camp? As long as you say the word, my heavenly saber pavilion will deal with this for you." Jiang Qi's words rang out in Xiao Chen's mind. He shook his head slightly. He could not stay in the heavenly saber pavilion. "Many thanks for Elder's kind intentions. Sorry, I cannot accept it. In that case, you're asking for it. Don't blame me for being merciless. If Xiao Chun could not stay in the heavenly saber pavilion, then no matter how talented he was, his glorious future would have nothing to do with the heavenly saber pavilion. Since that was the case, there was no need for Xiao Chun to deal with this unexpected calamity." Jiang Qi said sullenly, "All heavenly saber pavilion disciples on the platform, listen up. Quickly withdraw. My heavenly saber pavilion will not interfere in personal grudges." After Jiang Qi spoke, the people in the arena did not move. Instead, when the elders of the noble clans on the platform heard Jiang Qi's declaration, they all became restless. However, just as they stood up, they felt a formless killing intent heading for them. Let the youths deal with their own matters. Elder Ji, Elder Hua, what do you think? Jiang Qi looked at the elders of the noble clans and smiled faintly. However, the killing intent in his smile was not released. In the end, Jiang Qi still wanted to protect Xiao Chun, so he did not push things too far. Feng Shuani, who had been silent all this while, also smiled faintly and said, I also feel that the youth should deal with their own matters. We old fellows should just watch. It has been a long time since such an interesting youth appeared in the great Qi nation. This old man is willing to help him. As for the outcome, it will depend on his luck. As Feng Shuani spoke, the strong sharpness of the sword monarch instantly encased the elders of the noble clans on the platform. A sword hovered above each of their heads. The elders of the noble clans smiled bitterly to themselves. They wanted to stand up, but did not dare to. Even though they were dissatisfied, they did not dare to voice their dissatisfaction. When Xiao Chun felt the situation on the platform, he felt a warmth in his heart. I will definitely repay this favor in the future. Suifeng, Riyue, Kursin, Mu Chun, and Zhang Lai, Xiao Chun, thank you all. You may leave. Today's matter is a personal grudge between my noble clans. I have to settle this personally. Xiao Chun performed a cupped fist salute and persuaded Mu Chun, Zhang Lai, and the others to leave. Before Yun Kursin left, she said softly to Xiao Chun, Yi Chun, after this battle, I believe you will become a true bladesman. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said, Are you so sure that I can clear this stage? Yun Kursin's delicate face was incomparably calm. She smiled gently and said, I said it long ago. My judgment of people has always been very accurate. After sending off Yun Kursin, Xiao Chun went over to Lu Riyue's side. He felt somewhat guilty and said with much difficulty, Sorry, I lied to you for so long. The corners of Lu Riyue's eyes turned slightly moist. She said, Idiot, why did you not tell me earlier? Why would I blame you? Whether you were Xiao Chun or Yi Chun, in my eyes, there's no difference. The last knot in Xiao Chen's heart was untied. His sharp face immediately revealed a joyful smile. You may leave first. This is my karma. I have to settle it personally. Trust me. Lu Riyue knew that Xiao Chun had made up his mind. She nodded silently and left. After everyone left, aside from the noble clans, only Xiao Chun remained. Xiao Chun was dressed in white robes and had already drawn his lunar shadow saber. He swept his gaze across the faces of these people. Duan Yuqing, Ji Chongkong, Hua Yunfei, Mu Qingxue, Yan Qixue, and the Guy Marquis. For the past year or so, in order to hide from these people, Xiao Chun had changed his appearance, hiding his true appearance. No matter how quiet or low-profile a person was, who would be willing to hide their true appearance and hide? Who did not want to walk openly in the world? These noble clans had had enough of it. He, Xiao Chun, had had enough of it as well. Today, he would put an end to this. He would make Yi Chen's name become history. He would make everyone only remember Xiao Chun. Xiao Chen's gaze returned to the front. His expression did not change. He tightened his grip on his saber and said indifferently, Are you all coming to me together or one by one? Qi. When Duan Yuqing, Ji Chongkong, the Guy Marquis, Hua Yunfei, and Mu Qingxue heard Xiao Chen's words, they all jumped off. These people were proud and arrogant. It was impossible for them to practice with others against Xiao Chun. Only Yan Qixue and Xiao Chun remained in the previously bustling arena. Yan Qixue felt depressed in his heart. His strength was considered the weakest among these people. Originally, he had intended to work together with the others to deal with Xiao Chun. Even if they did not work together, they would at least wait for everyone to finish fighting first before they went up. However, with the current situation, they could not retreat even if they wanted to. Otherwise, they would lose their face. There is no need to worry. He has fought many battles. He must have exhausted a lot of essence. I should be 50% confident. Yan Qixue consoled himself. Chapter 359. Yan Qixue looked at the white-robed and calm Xiao Chun and said indifferently, Today, I will seek justice for my second brother. Dragon seizing hand. Yan Qixue clapped his hands, and a huge black palm appeared in the sky. This was the Yin clan's inherited martial technique, the dragon seizing hand. The huge hand was 100 meters wide, and the patterns on the palm could be seen clearly. When it descended, it felt like it covered the sky and covered the sun. Boom! A bolt of lightning flashed in the sky, and Xiao Chun leaped into the air. Electric light flickered on the snow-white lunar shadow saber, and a saber light appeared. Chop! Xiao Chun shouted and swung his saber. The huge black palm was instantly chopped in half, splitting it in the middle. Yin Qixue's expression did not change. He flipped his palm, and the huge black hand in the air immediately healed. The huge black hand grabbed at Xiao Chun, who was in the air. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he moved 100 meters to the side before landing on the ground. Bang! The huge black hand that had just landed clenched into a fist and punched at Xiao Chun. The might of the huge hand was very strong. If Xiao Chun clashed head-on, he would exhaust himself. Furthermore, this was just an appetizer. It would be disadvantageous for the later battles. I'll dodge it first. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen's figure flickered continuously. The huge black hand smashed the arena, causing it to tremble continuously. However, it could not catch up to Xiao Chen's speed. Instead, it drained its essence continuously. After a long time of not being able to take down Xiao Chun, its momentum started to weaken. Right now, Xiao Chun found an opportunity. He felt that the speed of the huge black hand had slowed down significantly. Xiao Chun quickly sheathed the lunar shadow saber and raised his right hand to the sky. A similar huge black hand appeared, and its two fingers formed a sword. It pierced through Yin Qixue's huge black hand. Isn't this the inherited martial technique of my Yin clan? He does not have an inherited martial spirit. Even if he had a secret technique, he would not be able to learn it. When Yin Qixue saw the sudden appearance of the huge black hand, he was stunned. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave. He did not give Yin Qixue any chance to hesitate. The giant black hand clenched into a fist and slammed into Yin Qixue's body. Pucci! Yin Qixue's face paled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He was slammed to the ground, and he still could not understand what was going on. Xiao Chun gently waved his hand, and the giant black hand slapped Yin Qixue's body out of the arena with tremendous force. He actually defeated Yin Qixue in one move, and he even used the Yin clan's inherited martial technique. This Xiao Chun is too surprising. They both used inherited martial techniques, but Yin Qixue actually lost to an outsider. How embarrassing. Several cultivators in the spectator stands commented. They were not optimistic about Yin Qixue and Xiao Chen's duel in the first place, so they were not too surprised. However, he did not expect that Yin Qixue would not even last 10 moves from Xiao Chun and would lose just like that. Look, the Guy Marquis is going up. I wonder who will win this time. The surrounding cultivators perked up again. The Guy Marquis was wearing golden battle armor. He held the 2-meter-long holy weapon, the Sky Splitter, in his hand. He looked at Xiao Chun and said, "You have been fighting continuously and have exhausted a lot of essence. I will give you a handicap of 3 moves. After 3 moves, I will make my move." Xiao Chun smiled faintly. "There's no need for you to give me a handicap. We will talk after you can block 3 moves from me." Rushing thunder roars, 10,000 horses gallop. The Guy Marquis was not Yin Qixue. He was much stronger than the latter. Xiao Chun did not have any intention of testing the other party. He was prepared to end the fight quickly. He did not wish to drag it out. That would not be good for him. Hence, he immediately used his big move. Thunderclouds churned in the sky, and a huge electric whirlpool appeared out of nowhere. Instantly, the clear sky turned dark. As the whirlpool spun, electric light flickered. The lightning attributed spiritual energy in the surroundings quickly gathered. Rumble, rumble. The sound of thousands of horses galloping resounded from the electric whirlpool. The sound resounded throughout the entire drill grounds, reaching the ears of every cultivator. What martial technique is this? Why is the mysterious phenomenon so shocking? When the cultivators and the spectator stands felt the horrifying energy from the electric whirlpool, their expressions all changed. The Guy Marquis' expression turned grave. With a dang sound, he stabbed the Sky Splitter into the ground in front of him. Z. Ripples appeared in the surrounding space. They were like water, causing the figure of the Guy Marquis to turn blurry. Xiao Qian felt that the other party was thousands of kilometers away from him. Furthermore, the Guy Marquis's figure was floating without a definite location. The Guy Marquis had used the might of the holy weapon to change the natural laws of the arena, causing everyone's senses to turn chaotic. However, in the end, you are only using the holy weapon to change the natural laws. It is not your own strength. In front of absolute strength, the natural laws are useless. Xiao Qian shouted, and all the lightning-attributed knights in the whirlpool gathered together. Then, a knight flickering with golden electric light walked out. The golden knight roared ferociously. It held up its spear and broke through the obstruction of space, charging at the Guy Marquis at lightning speed. When the golden knight was 100 meters away from the Guy Marquis, his body turned blurry. His lightning-fast speed turned into slow motion, allowing everyone to see him clearly. Who? It was like the golden knight had run for tens of thousands of meters. Time seemed to last forever. However, the flickering golden knight could not touch the Guy Marquis. It was still 100 meters away. However, this situation did not last for long. The rippling space started to crack. Soon, the entire small world shattered. There was a limit to how much the holy weapon could change the natural laws. It cannot be extended indefinitely. After the electric knight ran for tens of thousands of meters, the golden light of its spear had already dimmed. However, it was still resplendent and dazzling. Dang! The Guy Marquis held his sword horizontally in front of him. The broad blade of the sword pressed against the tip of the spear. A huge force pushed the Guy Marquis back continuously. The Guy Marquis's feet sank deep into the ground. After a while, 2 deep ditches appeared on the ground. The Guy Marquis retreated to the edge of the arena. Half of his feet were in the air. Unable to retreat, the Guy Marquis shouted and leaned back slightly. Then he swung the sky-splitting sword with both hands. Just as the tip of the spear was about to pierce him, the sword struck the electric knight. Xiao Qian knew how horrifying the Guy Marquis's strength was when he was in the ink forest. The electric knight, which had already run for tens of thousands of meters, had exhausted a large portion of its energy. Naturally, the outcome was easy to imagine. There was a loud sound, and the force of the sword blasted it into purple electric currents that scattered into the air. Wu Kuei shakes the heavens. Everything was within Xiao Qian's control. He had already stored up energy and executed the rare move of the Wu Kuei saber technique. The ancient divine Wu Kuei tree appeared from nowhere. Its branches were luxuriant, covering the sky and sun. It gave off a resplendent purple light. It was like a mountain made of lightning as it pressed down on the Guy Marquis. The Guy Marquis, who had lost the initiative, had yet to recover his wits from the first killing move. He could only place his left hand on his sword, hoping to block this divine Wu Kuei tree. Bang! The Guy Marquis had no way to resist. The absolute force crushed a corner of the arena into rubble. The Guy Marquis's feet slipped, and he fell off the arena along with the rubble. The lightning-attributed energy of the divine Wu Kuei tree did not show any signs of dissipating. It tore through the Guy Marquis's defenses and pressed down on his chest. Pu Ci. The huge force caused the Guy Marquis's internal organs to tremble. He could not help but vomit a mouthful of blood. Xiao Qian's figure flashed and stood above the arena. He looked calmly at the Guy Marquis on the ground. He said indifferently, "Do you still want to continue?" The Guy Marquis felt extremely dissatisfied. He still had many killing moves that he had not executed. If he had attacked from the start, he would not have ended up in such a passive position. He could not even receive 2 moves. However, it was already too late. Against Xiao Qian, he still dared to be arrogant. His fate was sealed long ago. Unfortunately, this Guy Marquis's defeat is too unjust. To think he was so arrogant, giving Xiao Qian the opportunity to execute his killing move with his full power. Otherwise, he would not have lost so easily, getting knocked off the arena in 2 moves. He dealt with Yin Qixue in 1 move and the Guy Marquis in 2 moves. Furthermore, he fought in consecutive battles and defeated the people from the Holy Lands. What is the limit of this Xiao Qian? Could it be that the noble clan heirs could not defeat him in a continuous battle? After consecutive battles and consecutive victories, Shao Chun displayed startling strength, shocking everyone. At this moment, there were already people who suspected that he might become famous in one battle, shocking the world, trampling on the geniuses of these noble clans, and climbing to the peak that belonged to him. That is impossible. The two killing moves earlier exhausted a lot of essence. In the end, he is only a peak medial grade martial saint. At most, he would have half of his essence left. The remaining people are all noble heirs with high-ranked, inherited martial spirits. Each one is stronger than the last. His essence will only decrease. I guess that he will be defeated soon. Furthermore, don't forget that there is still Mu Qingxue, whose strength we do not know. The moment these words were spoken, there were immediately people who retorted. They felt that it was impossible and that Shao Chun would definitely lose today. Shao Chun turned a deaf ear to the heated discussions outside the arena. His mental state had already reached a state where he would not be affected by praise or humiliation. The discussions of the outside world did not affect him at all. Hua Yunfei is going up. I heard that he awakened an ancient evil soul. This is the true showdown. Up in the arena, Hua Yunfei looked at the dilapidated arena. He frowned slightly and said, "Let's go to another place." The two of them flew up and landed firmly on a brand new arena. Hua Yunfei quickly drew the scarlet sword in his hand. Shao Chun revealed an evil smile on his handsome face. Although I have only comprehended the state of massacre to small perfection, it is sufficient to deal with you now. Pusi. Without giving Shao Chun a chance to speak, Hua Yunfei sent out a scarlet sword chi. His figure followed the sword chi and quickly pressed forward. Clearly, Shao Chun did not want to make the same mistake as the Guyi Marquis. Glittering Wukuei, Shao Chun gently swung the lunar shadow saber and sent out a strand of dense purple saber chi. This was the first move of the Wukuei saber technique infused with the state of thunder. Hua Yunfei smiled faintly and said, "The state of massacre is on a higher level than all other states. No matter how powerful your state of thunder is, it is useless." Pusi. The incomparably ferocious state of massacre on the scarlet sword chi easily shattered the purple saber chi that Shao Chun sent out. Bloody world, shadowless sword passing. Chapter 360. Taking advantage of the time when Shao Chun dodged the scarlet sword chi, Hua Yunfei's killing move followed closely behind. Scarlet light filled the air. There seemed to be countless scarlet figures executing sword techniques in the arena. Strands of scarlet sword chi moved at a strange frequency, fluctuating like the sea. A horrifying state of massacre spread throughout the entire arena, causing everyone's heart to tremble. Dang! 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 Activating the windwalk shoes, Shao Chun moved about in the sky, filled with sword images. He brandished his saber and chopped apart the sword chi flying at him. Every sword shadow seemed to be a real martial artist wielding a long sword to attack, stab, chop, hack, or flick. The angle of the attacks was random, and they came and went without a trace. It was tiring to deal with them. Hua Yunfei actually managed to completely learn an ancient martial technique. He truly lives up to his reputation as a rare genius of the Hua clan. This time, Shao Chun is in danger. Indeed, ancient martial techniques and current martial techniques are not of the same system. Normally, even if one obtained an ancient martial technique, it would be very difficult to truly master it. It would be very difficult to use it in actual combat. Look at this arena. There are endless sword images rising and falling one after another. Even a martial king would find it hard to block them. When the cultivators and the spectators' stands saw the scarlet sword images filling the arena, they recognized that this was an ancient martial technique. They could not help but worry for Shao Chun. Hua Yunfei's figure was hidden among these sword images. Occasionally, he would send out a sharp sword attack, catching people off guard. In an instant, Shao Chun's arms and legs suffered from several sword wounds, no matter how fast he was. Even if he was fast, he would not be able to dodge these unending and unpredictable sword images. Xiao Chun could only do his best to avoid any injuries to his vital points. Furthermore, there was a state of massacre that interfered with Xiao Chen's heart. There were killing moves hidden within the killing moves, one after another. This martial technique was truly unimaginable. Ha! Xiao Chun, this move must not be easy to take, right? Thanks to you, I awakened the ancient evil soul in my body. This martial technique is the inheritance of the ancient evil soul. In the ancient era, the evil soul used this move. The continuous stream of sword shadows could cover an area of 100 meters, encompassing heaven and earth. If a god blocked it, it would kill a god, and if a demon blocked it, it would kill a demon. Hua Yunfei looked at the tired Xiao Chun and laughed arrogantly. He wanted to strike a blow to Xiao Chen's fighting spirit and make him collapse prematurely. His mind was clear. Xiao Chun kept his heart calm. He was not worried, not confused, and not afraid. Xiao Chun ignored Hua Yunfei's words and wandered around the arena, exhibiting the state of thunder to its peak. Xiao Chun blocked the red sword shadows that came from all directions. At the same time, he did his best to discern the pattern of these sword shadows. The state of thunder infused with holy might could only barely knock these sword shadows back. It could not completely destroy them. The state of massacre is indeed not easy to deal with, Xiao Chun thought to himself. However, it is fortunate that I have the state of massacre as well. After blocking for a while, Xiao Chun finally figured out the pattern of the sword shadows. It was time to make a move. Xiao Chun gently removed the blue strip of cloth from his forehead. A scarlet mark appeared on his forehead. Xiao Chen's angular face immediately turned strange. The scarlet throne mark on his forehead released a strand of red light. Under the illumination of the red light, Xiao Chen's face looked even more strange. Wu Kuei transforms to Qi. Xiao Chun shouted and merged the state of massacre with the state of thunder. Occasionally, a red light flickered among the hundreds of purple saber Qi formed by the divine Wu Kuei tree. Bang! 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 In the arena, the scarlet sword Qi and the purplish-red saber Qi clashed in the air. A series of explosions rang out, ringing out endlessly in the sky above Lei Tian. Hua Yunfei's expression changed slightly. He grasped the scarlet sword tightly and said in disbelief, "How did you comprehend the state of massacre as well?" The continuous sounds of explosions created violent air currents in the air, and the surrounding railings of the arena were immediately smashed into pieces. Xiao Chen's hair fluttered and his white robes fluttered. He smiled gently and said, "Who made the rule that you are the only one who can comprehend the state of massacre?" Qi breaks Wu Kuei. The purple and red saber Qi contained the berserk state of thunder and the state of massacre. It pierced through the boundless shockwaves and headed for Hua Yunfei. Hua Yunfei brandished his sword and gathered the scattered scarlet light on his sword. He thrust the tip of his sword forward, and a spot of scarlet light appeared, blocking the tip of the saber Qi. Z. The two states clashed intensely in the air, neither giving way to the other. They gave off crackling sounds, and scarlet ripples appeared in the air. The states surged forward. Boom! Just as the two states clashed with each other, thunder suddenly roared in the sky. An electric light suddenly shot out from the purple and red saber Qi. Hua Yunfei's state immediately broke. He quickly dodged backward. However, the saber Qi still pierced through his right shoulder, leaving behind a finger-sized bloody hole. So, I was only clashing with the pure state of massacre earlier. I did not even use the state of thunder, Hua Yunfei thought in horror. You are far from being able to compare states with me. I don't care what ancient martial technique you have. Break! Xiao Chun leaped up gently, and his figure flashed. He infused the state of massacre into the state of thunder and brandished his saber Qi, forcing Hua Yunfei to defend. The situation immediately reversed. Xiao Chen's figure danced around. Strands of purple and red saber Qi easily destroyed all of Hua Yunfei's killing moves. Blood shadow chop. Break. Sea of blood and mountain of corpses. Break. Blood illuminating the mountains and rivers. Break. No matter how many powerful moves you have, my two states, the state of thunder and the state of massacre, will break them with one saber strike. Break, break, break. Hua Yunfei vomited 3 mouthfuls of blood. Xiao Chen broke all 3 of his killing moves with one saber strike. The surging energy was like a tsunami, forcing Hua Yunfei to retreat. Ding! The ferocious energy surged over again. The sword in Hua Yunfei's hand was immediately knocked away. Xiao Chun stepped forward and sent a palm strike at Hua Yunfei's chest, sending him flying. Hua Yunfei's body slid quickly across the arena. Soon, he reached the edge of the arena. His complexion was pale as he struggled to stand up. Suddenly, he felt a chill on his neck. It was Xiao Chun moving over and pressing his saber against his neck. Xiao Chun said expressionlessly, "Hua Yunfei, you have lost." "I did not lose. How could I lose to trash like you? Back then, I could easily kill you with one finger. This is impossible." Hua Yunfei pulled the saber away from his neck and leaped up. Then, he launched himself at Xiao Chun. Reckless fool. Xiao Chun kicked Hua Yunfei's face. The huge force caused Hua Yunfei to flip several times in the air. He landed head first outside the arena. He won again. Xiao Chun won again. Who can end him? Hua Yunfei's strength is at the peak of martial saints. He has grasped an ancient martial technique. Even a regular martial king would be able to kill him easily. However, he still lost to Xiao Chun. How many trump cards does Xiao Chun have? I think the state of massacre is his final trump card. However, even if he knows it, it will still be difficult to deal with. Another overwhelming victory caused the crowd to erupt into an uproar. Some people even firmly believed that Xiao Chun would be able to defeat all his opponents. Today, on the Heaven Viewing platform, Xiao Chun had fought many battles. Regardless of whether his opponents were from the Holy Lands or the geniuses of the noble clans, none of them were mediocre. However, without exception, Xiao Chun defeated his opponents in an overwhelming manner. With such strength, even if he lost the next few matches, there was no need to doubt his talent and strength. As long as Xiao Chun could escape this calamity, he would definitely rise up in the future. At that time, the noble clans would be like floating clouds in his eyes. High up in the clouds, Nangong Lai watched the scene on the Heaven Viewing platform. He smiled faintly and said, "It looks like there is no need for us to make a move. This brat might be able to escape this calamity." Ingyu looked around and said softly, "Now, it all depends on the people from the Holy Lands. These noble clans might not be able to stop him." On the platform, the elders of the noble clans had unsightly expressions. They wanted to move, but did not dare to. They felt very sullen. The Misty Sword Sect's first elder said softly, "Chaoyan, how confident are you of dealing with this brat?" Chu Chaoyan carried a sword on his back and smiled gently. "Victory will be decided in one move." "What do you think, first elder?" "Ha. In that case, I can rest assured." The Misty Sword Sect's first elder laughed happily. Up in the arena, Xiao Chun looked at Duan Muking, Ji Chongkong, and Mu Qingxue. He said softly, "The 3 of you, come at me together. Otherwise, you will not stand a chance against me." The moment Xiao Chun said that, everyone's heart skipped a beat. Is this Xiao Chun crazy? He actually took the initiative to ask them to attack together. Ji Chongkong smiled coldly and said, "Xiao Chun, if you are really seeking death, I am not afraid to grant your wish." No expression could be seen on Duan Muking's cold face. He said coldly, "Do you really think that you are qualified?" Mu Qingxue held the holy weapon, Beauty Under the Moon. He revealed a playful smile on his handsome face. He said softly, "If you only have this much strength, you are not even qualified to force me to draw my sword." The 3 of them were proud and arrogant people, dragons and phoenixes among men. Since they were young, they had enjoyed the limelight of everyone. They had all sorts of halos above their heads. When had they ever been looked down on like this? Boom, boom, boom. 3 strong auras soared into the sky. A resplendent starlight and countless stars flickered. That was Ji Chongkong's state of stars. A bone-chilling coldness spread in the sky. A cold light shone brightly, and a boundless cold qi spread in the air. It was Duan Qing's peak great perfection state of ice. A gentle and warm moonlight scattered down, moving one's heart like a cool breeze. This was Mu Qingshue's strange state of bright moon. Under the calm surface, there was an overwhelming aura. When the three auras merged, they shattered the clouds in the sky. Winds blew, clouds churned, and the sky changed color. All the cultivators in the drill grounds felt a strong pressure on their shoulders. It was like a mountain pressing down on them. Dressed in white robes, Xiao Chun held a saber with a sharp saber light. He smiled faintly at the strong aura. He gently raised his right leg and stomped it down. With the dragon and tiger body sculpting art at peak great perfection, Xiao Qin's pure strength could reach 50,000 kilograms of force. With his full power, he could reach 50,000 kilograms of force. When infused with essence, he could reach 100,000 kilograms of force. More importantly, this force could be freely controlled and perfectly manipulated. Chapter 361. Xiao Chun merged his essence and strength with this one kick and stomped on the ground gently. The wide arena, made of heavenly mountain stones and frost iron, slowly sank into the ground. Bang! 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 The ground of the drill ground could not withstand the pressure of the arena sinking into the ground. Deep cracks formed and quickly spread out. The cracks continued to spread, and the other arenas on the drill ground were torn apart and smashed into pieces. The 1,000-meter-long drill ground shook incessantly, and even the surrounding spectator stands were shaking. The shaking continued for a long time before it slowly stopped. The arena under Xiao Chen's feet was now level with the ground. A surging aura surged out from Xiao Chen's body. It clashed with the auras of Duanmuking's group of three, giving off a sharp aura. Now, do I have the qualification for the three of you to attack me together? Xiao Chen said calmly. His handsome face, which was like a scabbard, revealed its sharpness. It was like an unsheathed treasured saber. He only wanted to find someone to test how sharp this treasured saber was. Xiao Chun had long wanted to test his true strength, to see how strong he was. He had not had enough in the previous few matches. This feeling was like getting more and more excited. Just as you were about to unleash your full power, the other party was already lying on the ground, leaving you with nowhere to exert your strength. This happened over and over again. Xiao Chun had had enough of it. Now, he only wanted to fight to his heart's content and fight with all his might. Suddenly, the silent Feng Shuani on the platform said, "If this fellow can win this match, then he will snatch away all the luck of these noble heirs. Who knows, he might really become a legend in the future." The strength that Xiao Chun displayed and his strong aura caused the expressions of the three to change. They were greatly startled. Silence? In that case, I will take it as your tacit agreement. Xiao Chun said indifferently. He pushed off the ground and relied on pure force to shoot towards the three like an arrow. Ji Chongkong shouted coldly, "If you're seeking death, then I can't be bothered to talk about morality with you." Astral sword technique, resplendent starlight. The sky above the arena suddenly turned pitch black. Countless stars twinkled in the sky, and the day turned into night in an instant. Countless starlight descended, and a deep starry sky appeared in Ji Chongkong's eyes. He raised his sword and used the starlight to clash. Ding! At the same time, Mu Qingxue unsheathed his sacred weapon, Beauty under the moonlight. The blade of his sword reflected a golden full moon. In that moonlight, there seemed to be another world, a long and drawn out, like a woman's beautiful and pleasant voice, rang out, tugging at the heartstrings of those who heard it. Duanmuking, who had been silent for a long time, also made his move at this moment. His jet black hair turned white, and his eyes completely lost all human emotions, becoming incomparably cold. A slender sword appeared in her hand. It carried a bone-chilling state of ice as it stabbed fiercely at Xiao Chun. At this moment, even if she was not willing to admit it, she was not a match for Xiao Chun alone. When Xiao Chun saw the three attacking at the same time, he smiled faintly. He suddenly stopped and landed firmly on the ground. Xiao Chun brandished his saber, and the image of a flower bud appeared under his feet. After a while, the Wukuei flower bud flickered with alternating purple and red light, enveloping Xiaochun. Bang! 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 When the attacks of Duanyuking and the other two landed on the flower bud, it did not budge at all. The purple electric light and scarlet light flickered continuously, looking very strange. The three exchanged glances, and the essence in their bodies quickly surged. Then, they launched an even more ferocious attack. The strong sword techniques infused with the states of the three struck the ground, creating deep trenches. However, that strange flower bud did not budge at all. Within the flower bud, Xiaoqin's expression did not change. He suppressed the surging qi and blood in his body and quickly formed hand seals. Wukuei blossoms. When the three of them were about to launch their third attack, the alternating purple and red flower bud suddenly blossomed. A surging shockwave spread out in all directions. The three of them were caught off guard and were swept back by the shockwave. Countless flower petals danced in the air within the shockwave. The entire sky of the drill grounds was filled with alternating purple and red flower petals. It was incomparably beautiful. Xiaochun pushed off the ground and caught up to the slower Ji Chongkong. After passing through the sky full of flower petals, Xiaoqin's speed increased explosively. In an instant, he caught up to Ji Chongkong. Ji Chongkong's expression turned grave. Suddenly, he grew 100 meters taller and turned around. The star that belonged to him in the boundless starry sky suddenly lit up. A resplendent pillar of light descended from the distant sky. Astral sword play, eternal light. A majestic sword light shot out from the sword at Xiaochun, who was behind him at lightning speed. Boom! The sword light was like a pillar. It was resplendent and dazzling. When it struck the ground of the drill grounds, it created a deep black hole that made one's heart palpitate. This series of actions happened in the time it took for a spark to fly. It was so fast that no one could keep up with it. Did I hit him? Ji Chongkong frowned slightly and took a deep breath. To be able to execute this move in such a short period of time, Ji Chongkong was already doing very well. The might is pretty good. Unfortunately, I can't hit him. In the end, it is useless. Suddenly, Xiaoqin's calm voice came from behind Ji Chongkong. Ji Chongkong's expression immediately changed. He quickly turned around and held his sword horizontally in front of his chest. Dang! Ji Chongkong chopped down with his saber and was knocked back several meters. His right hand, which was holding the sword, felt numb from the impact. He quickly switched to a two-handed grip. The petals filled the sky, and there were invisible motes of light. When the motes of light landed on Xiaoqin's body, his speed increased by 30%. Ji Chongkong had just retreated when Xiaochun arrived at his side again. His saber light flickered, following him like a shadow. In an instant, he sent out more than 100 attacks. Retreat, retreat, retreat again. Ji Chongkong barely managed to block Xiaoqin's attacks. He was suppressed to the point where he did not even have a chance to breathe. In one breath, he retreated several hundred meters. Hu Qi, a strand of killing qi, came from behind. Xiaochun dodged to the side. It was Mu Qingxue charging over with the beauty under the moonlight. Ji Chongkong took a deep breath and retreated 100 meters. Just as Xiaochun dodged Mu Qingxue's attack, an extremely cold aura came from above. Duanyuking was charging over as well. Xiaochun smiled gently and swept his saber forward, knocking away Mu Qingxue's sword. After that, he quickly somersaulted and dodged the attacks of the two. Dang! 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 The attacks of the two were relentless. They brought out the state of ice to its limits. The cold qi penetrated Xiaoqin's skin and entered his body, causing him to slow down slightly. Occasionally, a soft hum came from Mu Qingxue's sword. Everyone could not help but turn their ears to listen, disrupting Xiaoqin's state of mind. The state of massacre infused into his saber technique. Xiaoqin maintained his original state of mind. He blocked left and right, blocking the attacks of the two. She was able to block the sword, but she could not block the sword light on the sword. Her white robes were torn, and blood appeared on her fair skin. Duanyuking and Ji Chongkong were not in a good state, either. Xiao Qian's sword light contained two states at the same time. When it struck them, the damage they caused was even more obvious. Huh! A beam of starlight descended behind Xiao Qian. Ji Changkong had finished resting and rejoined the battle. The three of them formed a large circle surrounding Xiao Qian. The three of them fought among the petals that filled the air. They kicked up dust, ice, starlight, moonlight, and the occasional flickering of scarlet lightning. Dust filled the air, and energy spread everywhere. Everyone in the spectator stands open their eyes wide as they watch the battle anxiously. The intensity of the battle completely surpassed their expectations. Xiao Qian fought 1 against 3, surrounded by danger. He was like a lone boat on the sea in a violent storm. It swayed back and forth, looking like it would be swallowed by the waves at any moment. However, it stopped and did not sink. Just when everyone thought that he would be killed, he strangely dodged their killing moves and launched a sharp counterattack. His white robes had already turned red from the blood. Xiao Qian smiled bitterly to himself. I finally feel carefree this time. However, the price I paid is rather high. However, I am a cultivator. I am born in a great age where geniuses appear in large numbers. If I do not go against the heavens and face the difficulties head-on, how can I stand out from the crowd? How can I reach the peak of cultivation in the future? Xiao Qian reared his head back and laughed loudly. A heroic spirit rose in his heart. He could not help but speed up his movements, deflecting the attacks of the three. Let's see how long you can last. Again, Ji Changkong roared ferociously. Starlight flickered around him as he quickly charged forward again. Up until now, both sides were truly enraged. At this moment, it was no longer a competition of strength. It was a competition of willpower. The one who could persevere and not collapse first would be the one who had the last laugh. Duan Yuking's white hair fluttered in the wind. His expression did not change at all. There were no visible fluctuations. A cold chi surged from his entire body, chilling everyone to the bone. Even Mu Chengxue and Ji Changkong were unwilling to get close. It was hard to imagine how Xiao Qian, who was the target of this cold chi, could persevere. The cold was bone-piercing. However, Xiao Qian had already cultivated dragon, tin, and tiger bone long ago. His body was reborn, and the cold chi could not penetrate his meridians. Although it was unbearable, he could persevere. Dang, dang, dang. The seemingly never-ending battle continued for another hour. Under the sharp attacks, the four of them were covered in wounds of various sizes. However, the weapons in their hands did not stop. Such a high-intensity battle was a great test of their willpower. Xiao, a fierce flame started burning in Xiao Qian's right eye. Finally, all the flames gathered together and elongated into a purple arrow. The arrow headed for Duan Yuking, who posed the greatest threat among the three. Duan Yuking's expression changed slightly. He felt a dangerous aura in his heart. He quickly retreated, and ice formed around his body. Xiao Qian smiled faintly. He did not care about the might of the purple light. He looked around and immediately attacked Ji Changkong, who was behind him. Xiao Qian had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. Of the three, Ji Changkong was the weakest. Xiao Qian could only look for an opening. Xiao Qian first diverted the strongest, Duan Yuking, and broke their encirclement. Then, he quickly made his move. After Duan Yuking left, the cold chi in Xiao Qian's body immediately dissipated. His ghostly movement technique reappeared. He turned around and stabbed his sword into Ji Changkong's chest. Chapter 362. Wu Kuei supporting the heavens. The purple-red petals that filled the air formed a mottled whirlpool as they quickly entered the wound. Bang! Ji Changkong's body fell backward rapidly. The purplish-red flower petals quickly took root in his body. A purplish-red Wu Kuei tree trunk grew out of his wound. Countless branches slowly extended from the trunk of the tree. After a while, the branches became luxuriant, covering the sky. On every branch, there were strange purplish-red barren sunflowers. Mu Chengshue's expression turned grave, and a murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Taking advantage of this opening, His sword hummed and filled the air with killing chi. Under the gentle moonlight, it quickly stabbed at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun could not split his attention with this attack. He had no chance to dodge. In reality, Xiao Chun had no intention of dodging. He continued to focus on forming hand seals, controlling the growth of the wukuei tree. The wind created by the sword already hurt Xiao Chun's face. The tip of the sword was only 10 meters away from him. Boom! A jade pendant on Xiao Chun's chest lit up with a dazzling light. A formless barrier enveloped Xiao Chun. This was the secret treasure that Xiao Chun had won the bid for. When Mu Qingxue struck the barrier with his full strength, he was reflected back 30%. He vomited a mouthful of blood and was knocked back. After the barrier blocked the attack, it slowly shattered. After Xiao Chun finished forming his hand seals, he turned around and quickly chased after Mu Qingxue. The wukuei tree behind Xiao Chun was completely formed. Countless roots extended into Mu Qingshue's meridians, firmly suppressing him. He was in so much pain that he wished he were dead. No matter how he struggled, it was useless. Mu Qingxue wiped off the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at the approaching Xiao Chun. He smiled coldly, and the moonlight on his sword suddenly rippled. The surrounding space immediately turned blurry. As Xiao Chun flew through the air, it seemed like Mu Qingxue was always a distance away from him. He could not get close. Right now, I have used my holy weapon to change the laws to create a miniature world. It is already more than 500 kilometers wide. Let's see how you break it. You can forget about catching up to me in your lifetime. Mu Qingshue's voice reverberated throughout the space. It seemed as though it was right beside their ears, yet it also seemed as though it was far away. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. I've said it before, as long as it's not a law that you've comprehended yourself, in the face of absolute power, laws are ineffective. Hearing the sword, Xiao Chun shouted, and the lunar shadow, saber formation, in his hand flashed. The snow-white saber turned pitch black, and its sharpness wantonly turned into a true heavenly weapon. Wukuei breaks the heavens. I can even break the heavens. Why would I fear your insignificant laws? An ancient divine tree quickly formed above Xiao Chen's head. Thunder roared incessantly in the sky above the drill ground as the state of thunder circulated to the extreme. Boom! A deafening clap of thunder descended from the sky. When the divine tree finished growing, Xiao Chen's saber lit up with a resplendent pillar of light. The pillar of light quickly elongated, rushing towards Mu Qingxue. With the aid of the state of massacre and the heavenly weapon, whatever laws of heaven and earth, they immediately shattered. The moonlight on the sword in Mu Qingshue's hand quickly dimmed. The pillar of light did not even have time to blink before it struck his chest. The crowd in the drill ground only saw a beam of light. Then, Mu Qingshue's body flew to the distant horizon, disappearing from everyone's sight. Before Xiao Chun could rest for a while, he immediately felt a cold chi spreading rapidly in the drill ground. Duan had completely dodged that lightning-fast purple thunder true fire. He was currently executing his killing move. Boom! 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 The cold chi on the ground quickly gathered and formed a huge ice prison. It surrounded the entire drill ground. In an instant, everyone could only see thick walls of ice. They could not see what was happening inside. Within the ice prison, a pitch-black saber rested on Duan neck. Xiao Chun wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips and said indifferently, "Give up. I still have one move of my wukuei saber technique that I have not executed. You have no chance." The instant the ice froze, Xiao Chun executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art to its limits. He executed the blue dragon tail whip. He managed to arrive just as Duan was about to execute his killing move. Xiao Chun placed his saber on Duan neck. Rumble! After a moment of silence, the ferocious ice-attributed energy in Duan hand finally scattered. The ice prison immediately melted, and Duan white hair turned black. There was no blood on Duan pale face. A trace of fatigue flashed in his eyes. He said softly, "Actually, You won from the very start. Duan is not as skilled as you. In the future, the grudge between you and the Duanmu clan will end here. After Xiao Chun spoke, he slowly walked out of the drill ground. After a while, a figure suddenly fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground. He bounced a few times on the ground before coming to a stop. It was Mu Qingxue, who had been blasted into the clouds by the Wukuei, breaking the heavens. He was already injured. Now that he fell from a height of a few thousand meters, he vomited blood on top of his injuries. He found it difficult to even speak. His vision was blurred by the blood. He was in a sorry state. The entire drill ground was deathly silent. Xiao Chun fought 1 against 3 and obtained the final victory. First, he defeated the Holy Land experts. Then, he defeated the various noble clan disciples. Along the way, Xiao Chun did not stop to rest. None of his opponents were mediocre. They were all famous, outstanding talents. However, they were all defeated by this white-robed bladesman. No one was a match for him, not even 3 against 1. After this battle, Xiao Chen's name would shake the world. He would become the true leader of the younger generation of the great Qi nation. Xiao Chun was the true main character of today's grand occasion. He had completely overshadowed Lung Liusu, who became a peak inferior grade martial king at the age of 17. Many people felt excited in their hearts. Perhaps many years later, they might be the ones to witness the start of a legend. As Xiao Chun walked, the shattered ice on the drill ground gave off a loud pong-pong sound. Every step he took made him feel dizzy. However, he had to continue moving forward. There were some things he had to say to the person lying on the ground. He had to say them personally to the person who forced him into a dead end. Mu Qingshua's vision was blurry as he coughed continuously. When he heard footsteps, he struggled to stand up. However, a scabbard ruthlessly stabbed him. You once said that the higher you fly, the more painful it will be when you fall. Look at you now. Looking at you now, I believe this sentence even more. Thank you. I will always remember this sentence. I will not allow myself to be in danger of falling. When Mu Qingxue heard this, he coughed violently a few times. He smiled miserably in his heart. He had just fallen from the clouds. He finally understood the saying, the higher you fly, the more painful the fall will be. Perhaps I should not have made an enemy of this person. Some people are destined to soar to the sky. Even if you manage to pull them down temporarily, you would only become a stepping stone for them, allowing them to fly higher and higher. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chun defeated them all. This is too inconceivable. First, he eliminated the Holy Land experts and forced them back with 4 palm strikes. Then, he defeated the noble clan heirs. No one can withstand his sharpness. I'm afraid no one in the younger generation is a match for him. Our great Qi nation has always been the weakest among the 5 great nations. This time, we might have produced a demonic genius. After a moment of silence, the crowd in the spectators' stands erupted. They were all very excited, and discussions could be heard without end. On the other side, Lu Riyue and the others all had sincere smiles on their faces. They quickly headed for Xiao Chun. At this moment, only the noble clan elders on the platform had the most heavy moods. If they could not take him down in this battle, this Xiao Chun might become a shadow that would haunt them for life. Just thinking about such a talented opponent made them tremble in fear. It made it hard for them to breathe. If one had to say who was the most oppressed, it would be Song Ke. At this moment, he felt incredibly depressed. Originally, he thought that he would definitely die. However, Xiao Chun managed to pull through. Furthermore, his reputation became even more famous. No, this brat's strength is already sufficient to threaten me. There is a death grudge between us. He will definitely come back to settle the score with me. Song Ke's expression was uncertain. It was like he was making a difficult decision. He was very hesitant. Forget it if I just kill him. He is currently at his weakest. This is the best opportunity. He is no longer a Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciple. With my status as the Peak Master, I can definitely avoid the death penalty. Thinking of this, a murderous intent appeared in Song Ke's eyes. He looked at the defenseless Xiao Chun, who was walking towards Lu Riyue, and clenched his fist tightly. Die! Song Ke shouted and used his remaining arm as a saber. He carried a sharp, killing chi and soared into the air, flying towards Xiao Chun at lightning speed. When the smiling Lu Riyue saw Song Ke, her expression immediately changed. She shouted, "Xiao Chun, be careful!" When Xiao Chun felt the killing chi, he wanted to circulate the blue dragon cloud soaring art to dodge. However, he discovered that the essence in his body had already dried up. There was nothing left. He was startled. Bang! Lu Riyue flew over at lightning speed and used her palm to block Song Ke's peak martial king strike for Xiao Chun. Pu Ci. There was an insurmountable difference between an inferior grade martial king and a peak martial king. Furthermore, this was a peak strike that Song Ke had stored up power for a long time. Lu Riyue vomited a large mouthful of blood. She felt an intense pain in her chest as she flew backwards. Xiao Chen's expression suddenly sank. He quickly caught Lu Riyue and placed his hand on her pulse. He sent a strand of spiritual sense into her and discovered that her heart meridians were shattered. Her life force was rapidly draining away. The sudden turn of events caused everyone present to be in a daze. They had never expected things to turn out like this. "Xiao Chun, don't be rash," Lu Riyue said weakly as she lay in Xiao Chen's embrace. Her complexion was pale. It was like lightning struck Xiao Chen's mind. His eyes turned scarlet, and the scarlet throne in his sea of consciousness trembled continuously. Strands of scarlet state of massacre spread out. When Xiao Chun turned his head back, he saw that Song Ke was still unwilling to let go. He was rushing towards him, trying to kill him. Seeking death. Xiao Chun felt a chill in his heart. Killing chi filled his entire body. The blue dragon tattoo on his right arm started to move quickly. A horrifying energy accumulated continuously. After a while, the vivid tattoo came to life. A realistic blue dragon coiled around Xiao Chen's arm. Roar! A dragon roar shook the heavens and earth. The white clouds in the sky were scattered. The holy might of an ancient holy beast spread throughout the drill grounds. Song Ke, who bore the brunt of it, had a drastic change in expression. Chapter 363. Song Ke felt an overwhelming holy might pressing down on him like a small mountain. The martial spirit in his body trembled continuously, and his essence became unstable. He could not even walk properly. Before Song Ke could react, he was struck by the blue dragon. The clothes in front of his chest were torn apart, and a bloody hole the size of a bowl appeared. His body flew back 100 meters. The blue dragon circled around and returned to Xiao Chen's arm. Its luster was dim, leaving only a blurry image. On the platform, the silent phoenix's Passion Palace's Elder Yan's expression changed greatly when he saw the azure true dragon. He exclaimed in his heart, "Blue dragon martial spirit. How can it be the blue dragon martial spirit?" Xiao Chen took a few steps and arrived before the heavily injured Song Quebec. His eyes were bloodshot as he lifted Song Ke up with a sullen expression. "Song Ke, I have no enmity with you. You are a bona fide peak martial king, yet you have tried to kill me time and time again. I have tolerated you until now, yet you are still unwilling to let me off." Xiao Chun continued to question Song Ke as he grabbed him by the collar. "Don't kill me. I am the Biyun Peak's peak master. If you kill me, you will die as well," Song Ke said with a horrified expression. The fear of death in his heart caused him to give up all his dignity. "Xiao Chun, stop!" The first elder, Jiang Qi, shouted from the platform. No matter what, Song Ke was the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's peak master. He could not die in the hands of an outsider. Xiao Chun could not be bothered with him. He clenched his right hand and punched, turning Song Ke's head into mush. Lu Riyue's heart meridians were shattered because of him. She had a slim chance of survival. No matter who pleaded on her behalf, Xiao Chun had to kill this person. Hu Qi. A red light flashed on the platform. It flew over at lightning speed and sent a palm strike at Xiao Chun. "Old thing, if you dare to come any closer, I dare you," a delicate voice shouted. Just as Elder Yan's palm strike was about to land on Xiao Chun, a fiery red meteor descended from the sky. Upon closer inspection, one would discover that it was a golden spear with a golden dragon formed from pure golden flames coiling around its body. Sensing danger, Elder Yin immediately stopped what he was doing. When he saw the item clearly, his expression changed drastically. A subdivine weapon, the Grand Sovereign Spear, and a complete dragon flame. Is the Qin Emperor here? Retreat. Without any hesitation, Elder Yan's body flickered as he retreated. His speed was inconceivably fast. However, that long spear followed him like a shadow, hot on his heels. Everywhere the spear passed, a visible black hole appeared in space. The dragon flame circling the spear burned fiercely, expanding the black hole rapidly. My life is over, Elder Yin thought to himself in despair as he looked at the spear that he could not dodge. Dang! Just when he was in complete despair, there was a sudden fluctuation in space. Elder Luo, who was in the reincarnation well, appeared out of thin air with 7 people. Shoving Elder Yin aside, Zhang Xian tapped his finger lightly on the Grand Imperial Spear, which could easily tear through space, and a formless shockwave appeared beneath his feet. Xiao Chun diverted the boundless force of the spear into nothingness, displaying his strong control skills. Yingyu, who had descended from the sky, stretched out her hand and retrieved the Grand Imperial Spear. Elder Luo, that person is the inheritor of the Blue Dragon Martial Spirit. Elder Yin, who had narrowly escaped death, said as he looked at Xiao Chun. Elder Luo waved his hand and said, I know. There is no need to say anything more. Don't bother yourself with this matter. Boom, boom, boom. The hidden Heavenly Saber Pavilion Supreme Elders all revealed themselves at this moment. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up when he saw Shin Manjun among them. Xiao Chun immediately carried Lu Ruyue and ran over. He said anxiously, Martial Grandaunt, please save Ruyue. She is about to die. Shin Manjun sighed gently and said, I owe you a favor. Furthermore, Lu Ruyue is the son of an old friend. No matter what, I have to save her. When Xiao Chun heard this, his expression relaxed. He said, Martial Grandaunt, can she be saved? With a flip of her palm, Shin Manjun took out a medicinal pill and fed it to Lu Ruyue. The medicinal pill melted in her mouth. Soon, Lu Ruyue's life force started to recover. She's still in time. This is Jade Maiden Peak's rank 9 medicinal pill for treating injuries. It can protect her from death, Shin Manjun said calmly as she infused a strand of gentle essence into the medicinal pill to speed up its effects. When Lu Ruyue and the others heard this, they heaved a sigh of relief. As long as Lu Ruyue did not die, it was fine. Xiao Chun, you killed my Heavenly Saber Pavilion's peak master, Song Quebec. You should be executed according to the sect rules. However, Song Ke attacked a fellow disciple first. That is also a capital offense. Your contributions offset your mistakes. From today onwards, you are not allowed to take half a step into my Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Do you agree? Shin Manjun said softly after Lu Ruyue's condition stabilized. Although she was not the sect master, she was the most senior. To a certain extent, her words held more weight than Jiang Qi's. Idiot, why are you still not agreeing? She is protecting you. Can't you see that the people from the Holy Land are glaring at you? Just as Xiao Chun was about to retort, Lu Ruyue's voice rang out in his mind. He could only nod and say, I promise Martial Grandaunt that I will not take half a step into the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in the future. Shin Manjun nodded gently and looked at Elder Luo. Elder Luo, what do you think? The Phoenix's Passion Palace's inner core elder scolded Elder Yin, who had sent a voice projection. He smiled gently and said, Elder Shun is too polite. This is a private matter of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. It has nothing to do with the Phoenix's Passion Palace. I only hope that your young pavilion master will go to the Holy Land as promised. Since Lu Ruyue was fine, Xiao Chen relaxed. Just because he did not take half a step into the Heavenly Saber Pavilion did not mean he would not return. When his strength reached a certain level, he would definitely bring Lu Ruyue away from this place. He would not forget this promise. After bidding farewell to everyone, Xiao Chun especially thanked Princess Yingyu. Then he slowly led Bai out. Xiao Chun did not know when he would return after leaving this time. However, he would definitely return. This was because he had to complete the promise. After Xiao Chun was far away, Elder Luo walked over to Yingyu and smiled. Little girl, you are very similar to your grandfather. You are equally tyrannical. Unfortunately, your strength is far inferior. Yingyu grasped the Grand Imperial Spear tightly and smiled faintly. Then, do you want to give it a try? Elder Luo smiled gently, ignoring Yingyu's mockery. Go back and tell your grandfather that he's still lost this time. As Yingyu watched the people of the Phoenix's Passion Palace leave, she thought to herself, as long as Xiao Chun is still around, we have not lost. Following the departure of several important figures, the crowd on the drill ground also left the place. The Holy Land selection was completely ruined. However, the cultivators who came did not feel any regrets. Witnessing the start of a legend was a form of luck. Not long after, the noble clans on the platform left as well. The previously bustling drill grounds became quiet once more. Even the most glorious and grand occasion would come to an end. Jiangqi sighed to himself and led the Heavenly Saber Pavilion elders away from this place. However, no one would have guessed that the end of this event was the beginning of the glorious stage of the Qianwu continent. The true curtains had just been drawn. Shihe Province, in a tavern on a desolate road. This was the only road from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to the Black Dragon River, aside from the Devil Savannah. There were many cultivators coming and going. In this desolate wilderness, the only tavern within 500 kilometers became a good place for many cultivators to stop and rest. The tavern was not big. It did not even have a main floor. It was just a building with a bedroom and kitchen. There were a few tables outside and a simple signboard by the side of the road. However, business was very good. Out of the few tables, only one was empty. The rest were occupied by cultivators on their way. Outside the tavern, there was a white-clothed girl about 14 or 15 years old. She had a pretty face and held a wine gourd in her hand. She smiled at the tavern owner and said, "Boss, fill up my gourd with some wine." The tavern owner was an old man over 50 years old. When he saw the girl's pure face and her charming smile, he immediately became distracted. After a long time, he recovered his wits. He took out a funnel and placed it on the mouth of the gourd. Then, he picked up a ladle from the wine jar and slowly poured the wine. When the girl smelled the fragrant wine, her cute eyes squinted. She smiled and said, "Thank you, boss. Fill up more." The tavern owner smiled and said, "No problem. I guarantee I will fill it up to the brim. This little one has always done business honestly. I will not skimp on weight." However, after filling up the gourd for a while, the tavern owner started muttering to himself, "Why does this small gourd look like it is not full?" When he looked down, he discovered that the gourd was completely filled. There was no sign of it leaking out. At a table at the side, there was a white-clothed youth eating. There was a blue strip of cloth wrapped around his head. He had fair skin and a delicate and handsome appearance. When he saw this scene, his expression changed, and he nearly spat out the food in his mouth. He quickly ran over and picked up the gourd. Then, he handed over a piece of gold and said, "Boss, there is no need to fill it up. This gold word is a reward for you." "Thank you, young hero." When the tavern owner saw the gold word, a smile bloomed on his face. However, he still muttered to himself, "Strange, it is such a small gourd. Why is it not full?" The white-clothed youth smiled bitterly to himself. "It would be strange if you could fill it up. This wine gourd is a small spatial magic treasure that I specially refined. It would be more than enough to fill a 100-meter-wide pool of water. There would be no problem." Needless to say, these two people were naturally Xiao Chun and Bai, who had left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. After leaving the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Xiao Chun boarded the silver warship and quickly left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's territory. He recuperated in a small city for half a month before continuing on his journey. In the current Great Qin nation, aside from two people who could fight with Xiao Chun, there was no one else worthy of him going all out. In the Qianwu continent, there were 5 great nations. Not to mention the strongest, the Great Jin nation, whose spirit veins had not changed much. As for the other four nations, the Great Tang Nation, Chu Nation, Xia Nation, and Qi Nation, the Great Qi Nation was the weakest. The spiritual energy in their nation was also the thinnest. They only had 3 large sections. As for the other 3 nations, each of them had at least 4 or 5 sects that could rival the heavenly saber pavilion. As for the Great Jin Nation, it went without saying. Xiao Qin's vision had never been limited to the Great Qin Nation. From the very start, he had set his sights on the entire continent. Thus, it was imperative for him to go abroad. The Tianwu continent was vast and boundless. Aside from the 5 great nations, there was also the mysterious and chaotic ancient desolate land, the 100,000 great mountains occupied by the barbarians in the north, and the countless small nations occupied by the ancient races. Chapter 364. Just the continent itself was already boundless, not to mention the countless islands of various sizes in the boundless sea, the ice continent in the extreme north, and a legendary fiery abyss where the sun rose. The world was so big, many people could not even travel half of it in their entire lives. Perhaps one was a super genius of nation. However, when one left the nation, one might discover that one was still as insignificant as a speck of dust. Xiao Qin maintained a humble and calm heart. No matter what the outside world said, no matter how talented he was or what his future prospects were, they were all empty in Xiao Qin's eyes. Only the strength that he truly grasped was the most real. He could not allow the words of the outside world to affect his heart. He had to be calm, not worried, not confused, not afraid, not arrogant. Didn't I tell you not to use this bottle gourd to buy wine? Why don't you listen? Xiao Qian said as he gently patted Bai's head. Bai lowered her head and said with some grievance, "However, the other bottle gourds are really small. They are gone after I take 2 sips." Xiao Qian shook his head helplessly. There was nothing he could do about this girl who loved to drink. He closed the bottle gourd and handed it back to her. He said, "This will not happen again. This time, you're not allowed to drink it before night falls." Bai smiled happily as she received the bottle gourd. Then, she tied it to her waist. She nodded seriously and said, "I will not drink it. I promise I will not drink it." After leaving money for the food on the table, Xiao Qian led Bai down the main road. Not long after Xiao Qian left, one of the cultivators at another table said, "That youth earlier seems to be the recently famous white-robed bladesman Xiao Qian. Could he be going there for the treasure as well?" Another person smiled and said, "You are overthinking it. Now, wearing white robes and a blue strip of cloth on his head is already a common attire for bladesmen. I have not seen a bladesman who did not dress like that." Another person smiled and said, "Indeed, back then, during the battle in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, I did not see any bladesman who did not dress like this. I can only say that Xiao Qian is too famous now. There are too many people following him. Don't overthink it. Maybe I'm overthinking things. Recently, I have indeed seen many white-robed bladesmen with blue strips of cloth on their heads. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's continue on our way after we finish eating," the first person to speak said. On a silver warship in the sky, a strong wind blew against the clouds as it advanced rapidly. Xiao Qian was in the cabin, carefully looking at a map. The map showed the topography of the Shihe River and the coastal areas in detail. Every mountain, river, and town was marked in detail. Beside the large map was a small map that was flashing with spiritual light. It was the treasure map that Xiao Qian had obtained that day. According to Fatso, the location of the treasure was an island overseas. The island was surrounded by churning waves all year round. Martial monarch experts would not be able to enter. That was because the martial sage from back then had changed the laws of heaven and earth outside the island. Even after 1,000 years, the changed laws had not recovered. There would be a period of time every 2 years when the huge waves would be much smaller. This would allow martial kings to enter. Calculating the time, this was the period of time when one could pass through the huge waves. After leaving the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Xiao Qian did not have a clear destination. Since he had such a treasure map in his hands, he intended to give it a try and see if it was a fortuitous encounter for him. After comparing the map, Xiao Chun muttered, "It looks like the river on the treasure map is really the Black Dragon River in the Xia province. The sea route marked on the red line should be the route to the island." Bai, who was sitting at the stern, looked at the focused Xiao Chun. Occasionally, she would sneakily remove the bottle gourd at her waist and take a sip. Her face would turn red, looking very alluring. Xiao Chun saw all this clearly with his spiritual sense. However, he could only smile helplessly. He held the treasure map in his hand and studied it for a while. Xiao Chen's hand slowly slid over the treasure map until he reached the island closest to the treasure. This island was called Green Wind Island. It was twice the size of Xia's city. It was a very famous transit island that led to the depths of the boundless sea in the west of the continent. Merchant ships that wanted to go to the boundless sea would stop at this island to resupply before they left. Stop drinking. We have to go down and take a ship," Xiao Chun said softly after putting away the map. Bai blushed slightly and stood up. She nodded gently and smiled. "And I got it. If they wanted to go to Green Wind Island, they would have to take another merchant ship. Controlling the silver warship for such a long distance would be very taxing on their mental and physical strength." Xiao Chun stored by in the spirit blood jade and returned the silver warship to his right eye. Then, he quickly descended from the sky. Soon, a small city appeared in his vision. This small city was the end of the desolate road. Because there was a port near the Black Dragon River, although the city was small, it was bustling with activity. There was a huge flow of people. Xiao Chun landed firmly on the ground and paid the entrance fee. Then, he immediately rushed to the port outside the city. There were many large merchant ships anchored at the port. After he heard about a merchant ship preparing to go to the depths of the boundless sea, Xiao Chun immediately rushed over. "So, you're going to Green Wind Island. Hand over 100 inferior grade spirit stones. Otherwise, there is no need for further discussion," the person who negotiated with Xiao Chun said indifferently. "Strange, why is it so expensive? I remember that I only had to pay some gold to borrow a ship in the past. Now, I actually have to pay 100 inferior grade spirit stones." It was not that Xiao Chun did not have 100 inferior grade spirit stones. However, he did not want to be a spendthrift. So, he prepared to ask another merchant ship. The waiter on the ship smiled and said, "Stop looking. The other merchant ships charge the same price. Even if you walk to the next port, it will still be the same price." There was definitely something wrong with this abnormal situation. Xiao Chun felt suspicious and stopped. He took out 150 inferior grade spirit stones and said, "The remaining 50 are for you. Tell me why the price increased collectively." When the waiter received the extra 50 inferior grade spirit stones, a smile immediately bloomed on his face. He explained, "It is because of the treasure map passed down in the Devil's Savannah. I heard that a fatso obtained the treasure map in the Devil's Savannah. He took it to the auction house in the ancient desolate land and made a huge profit. Then, he made 1,000 copies of it and sold them. Now, the treasure map has become a common item. The first person who auctioned it became a spendthrift. It is not only our great Qin nation. Many cultivators from the Great Tang Nation, the Great Xia Nation, and the Great Chu Nation all obtained the treasure map. Hence, more people went to the Green Wind Island." Speaking up to this point, Xiao Chun understood what was going on. He smiled to himself. "The treasure map that I treated as a treasure has already become a common item. However, given Fatso's character, he would be able to do something like this. He had suffered too much in the Devil's Savannah. If he did not earn some money, he would not stop." When the waiter arrived at the bow of the ship, Xiao Chun immediately felt countless strong auras. He saw 100 cultivators sitting on the deck. Half of them were peak martial saints. The rest were martial kings. Half were medial grade martial kings, and there were a few superior grade martial kings. Xiao Chun carefully scanned the place with his spiritual sense and discovered a peak superior grade martial king. He had hidden his aura and was silently hiding in the crowd. It looked like it was as the waiter said. Everyone knew about the secret of the treasure map. As long as they were strong, they would want to try their luck. Another bladesman who follows Xiao Chun. Why do so many people like to imitate him? Do they think that just because they wear white robes and a blue strip of cloth, they are experts? When the few cultivators saw Xiao Chun boarding the warship, they mocked him with mocking laughter. Xiao Chun looked up and saw many bladesmen on the ship dressed like him. White robes, sabers at their waists, and a blue strip of cloth tied around their heads. Xiao Chun could only selectively ignore the words of those people. In such a situation, Xiao Chun could accept it. At least, he did not have to worry about exposing his identity. Xiao Chun smiled gently and led the waiter to a room in the ship's hold. He said, "Help me prepare a good double room. It would be best if it was a big one. Young hero, this is your first time borrowing a ship, right? We are not a passenger ship, but a merchant ship, so..." Before the waiter could finish speaking, Xiao Chun tossed him 1,000 inferior grade spirit stones. Then he took out 100 inferior grade spirit stones and said, "The big one is for your leader and the small one is for you." The waiter immediately smiled and said, "Young hero really knows the rules. With spirit stones, everything is easy. A double room, right? I will give you the biggest one. Please wait for a while." Xiao Chun was very clear on whether there were any empty rooms on the merchant ship. However, aside from doing meritorious deeds for the merchant ship, he could only use spirit stones to establish a connection. Inferior grade spirit stones were not very useful for Xiao Chun's cultivation. He could only use them to recover his spiritual energy. Even if he spent them, it would not be a waste. Not long later, the waiter ran back and led Xiao Chun to the second floor of the ship. He found a large guest room for him. "Young hero, if there is anything you need, feel free to instruct me. This little one will be waiting for you." This waiter already treated Xiao Chun as the young master of a big clan. He was still thinking of getting more benefits. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. He knew what the waiter was thinking. He handed over 10 inferior grade spirit stones and said, "You can withdraw first. I will call you if there is anything. Don't disturb me without my instructions." The shop assistant took the spirit stones and left in a joyful mood. After he closed the wooden door, Xiao Chun immediately let out Bai, who had been confined for a long time. The guest room was very big. It was more than enough for 2 people. After Xiao Chun reminded Bai not to run around, he took out a medial grade spirit stone and entered a state of cultivation, preparing to break through to superior grade martial saint at any time. After the consecutive battles at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, the purple essence liquid in the Qi whirlpool in Xiao Chen's Dantian had been stirring restlessly. This was the prelude to a breakthrough. Furthermore, after cultivating for the past few days, the distance between Xiao Chun and superior grade martial king had been shrinking. Once the time was right, he would be able to smoothly advance to superior grade martial saint. The many battles had given Xiao Chun a very clear understanding of his own strength. Xiao Chen's current combat prowess should be between peak medial grade martial king and superior grade martial king. He could defeat medial grade martial kings and hold his own against superior grade martial kings. However, he would not be a match for a peak superior grade martial king. If he ran into a peak superior grade martial king, it would be best to retreat early. Chapter 365. As for those within the martial saint realm, Xiao Chun could be said to be unrivaled. Xiao Chun was even confident of defeating a Holy Land core disciple. This port was in the middle reaches of the Black Dragon River. There was still a long way to go before it reached the estuary. Furthermore, merchant ships could not travel at full speed in the river. Hence, they were not very fast. Xiao Chun did not go out. Every day, aside from eating, he spent all his time cultivating. The spiritual energy in the world below the mountain was very thin. Every 2 days, he would have to expend a medial grade spirit stone. Xiao Chun did not lack medial grade spirit stones. He used more than 30,000 contribution points to exchange for more than 1,000 medial grade spirit stones. In addition to the spirit stones he obtained from selling the demonic cores, he now had more than 9,000 medial grade spirit stones. As long as he could increase his cultivation speed, he would not feel any heartache. 2 months later, the purple Qi whirlpool in Xiao Chen's body suddenly spun quickly. The spiritual energy in the medial grade spirit stone in his hand flowed into his body like a river. Dida, Dida. The purple essence liquid dripped continuously from the Qi whirlpool. Soon, it filled the interior of the Qi whirlpool. All of Xiao Chen's pores, flesh, and bones felt swollen. After a while, the Qi whirlpool exploded and his dantian turned chaotic. Streams of air gushed out from Xiao Chen's body. Instantly, the air in the entire room surged, forming small tornadoes. An extremely comfortable feeling spread throughout Xiao Chen's body. The essence circulating in his meridians was denser and purer than before. Did I break through? With a thought, Xiao Chen sent his consciousness into his dantian. He saw that the purple Qi whirlpool was twice as large as before. Previously, it could have been filled with purple liquid. Now, it barely filled half of it. Xiao Chen successfully broke through. After more than 4 months, Xiao Chen finally advanced from peak medial grade martial saint to superior grade martial saint. Revealing a faint smile, Xiao Chen circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. The purple essence immediately circulated a small cycle through the 9 major meridians. Then, it started to circulate in the minor meridians around the major meridians. With this advancement, he had opened several dozen new minor meridians. One of them was for cultivating the purple thunder divine incantation's 6th layer. The more minor meridians there were, the more essence would circulate in the purple thunder divine incantation's 6th layer. An hour later, the purple essence Qi finally began to circulate through all the meridians. The essence Qi in the 9 main meridians gathered into tiny streams that gathered in the purple Qi whirlpool. The Qi whirlpool slowly stopped after it was mostly filled. All it needed was a great cycle, and it would be. However, Xiao Chen did not continue to circulate his energy. He opened his eyes, and 2 beams of purple light flashed in them, radiating sharpness. Elder brother Xiao Chen, you have as Qi. Chen Xiao Chen spirit. Xiao Chen waved his hand and sucked in all the flowing purple energy into his body. He stood up and smiled faintly. And I have not gone out for a month. You must be feeling stifled. After passing through the corridor, the 2 of them arrived at the bow of the ship. At this moment, the sun had just risen. The faint light of the sun cast a golden shadow on the surface of the river. The sky had just brightened. The many cultivators on the deck were walking around the side of the ship. They gathered in groups of 2 or 3 and chatted with each other. After not coming out for more than a month, Xiao Chen felt the breeze from the river. His mind relaxed, and his mind felt much better. Xiao Chen had not come out for more than a month. When he felt the breeze from the river, his mind relaxed, and his mind felt much better. After traveling for more than a month, a huge tributary suddenly appeared on the river in front. Many merchant ships turned around and sailed into the tributary. After traveling for half a day, a huge tributary suddenly appeared in front of them. Many merchant ships turned around and sailed into the tributary. Xiao Chen had seen the map before. He knew that this tributary led to the most chaotic place in the continent, the ancient desolate land. The ancient desolate land was very large. It was about half the size of the Great Qi nation. If one included some desolate and uninhabited places, it would be about the same size as the Great Qi nation. The center of the ancient desolate land was the capital of the Tianwu dynasty. It was once the most glorious city in the continent. Unfortunately, after the dynasty was destroyed, the dragon vein that the Tianwu emperor had laid dormant for 10,000 years was split into 9. The ancient desolate land became an extremely dangerous place. As a result, the spiritual energy of the ancient desolate land was extremely dense. However, no empire moved their capital there. Xiao Chen collected his thoughts. Since they were already here, it would not be long before they set sail. Soon, the merchant ship would leave the Tianwu continent and reach the coastal waters. We are about to reach the Thunder King Valley. After we pass the Thunder King Valley, we will leave the Tianwu continent, a cultivator suddenly said. Another companion sighed and said, ever since the Thunder King, there have been no more peak experts in the Great Qi nation. They have really declined. I wonder if there will be someone like the Thunder King after 1,000 years. That bladesman who appeared in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion not long ago might be able to recreate the glory of the Thunder King. He defeated so many noble clan geniuses in one go. He is the only one in the past 100 years to do so. In this era, there are many geniuses. When things reach an extreme, they will move in the opposite direction. The continent that has been silent for 1,000 years will definitely rise again. Even within the great Qin nation, the geniuses of those noble clans are not weak. There is also Lung Liusu, who became an inferior grade martial king at the age of 17. There is also Chu Chaoyun, who has not revealed his true strength yet. There are also some geniuses from the military who spend most of their time on the battlefield in the imperial capital. They are not inferior to the era of 1,000 years ago. As for the experts of the other nations, there are even more of them. As far as I know, there are at least 100 people who are not weaker than Xiaoqin. Furthermore, this does not include the geniuses of the Great Jin Nation. Naturally, the geniuses of the Great Jin Nation are not included. They are not in the same world as us. How can we compare? We might be able to see these geniuses on the Green Wind Island this time. I heard that the other nations also have treasure maps of the Devil's Savannah. Someone on the bow of the warship mentioned the Thunder King. The entire deck immediately became lively. These knowledgeable cultivators started to discuss the geniuses of the various nations. This piqued Xiao Qin's interest. He pricked up his ears and listened attentively. 1,000 years ago, which was the era of the Thunder King, there were many geniuses in the various nations. There were countless capable people. After the destruction of the Tianwu dynasty, the world of cultivators reached its peak. All sorts of dazzling genius cultivators emerged like pearls. The Thunder King rose up like a comet in such an era. He swept through all the geniuses in the world until he became one of the few people who stood at the top of the pyramid of the continent. After the fall of the Thunder King, that glorious era slowly came to an end. The world of cultivators started to decline. There were very few peak experts, and the various geniuses were no longer as dazzling as before. However, there seemed to be some signs now. It was like a glorious era was slowly budding. The morning sun had already risen above everyone's heads. The sunlight became unusually intense. A majestic canyon appeared in the distance. Everyone stopped talking as they looked at the canyon in the distance with reverence in their eyes. The canyon was a few thousand meters tall. It stood on both sides of the Black Dragon River. It was like two swords piercing into the sky. Clouds shrouded the peak. When the merchant ship arrived before the canyon, it slowed down. After entering the canyon, the sky immediately turned dark. Everyone on the deck fell silent. Only the sound of splashing waves could be heard on the quiet surface of the river. Everyone even seemed to hold their breath. What's going on? Xiao Chun looked suspiciously at the canyon on both sides. The moment he looked around, he was thoroughly shocked. The canyon towered into the clouds. There was a huge statue of a person carved on it. This person was very lifelike and had a resolute expression. He wore tight robes and had a sword at his waist. He looked at the distant sea. The statue was carved in the canyon's vein. It was 1 kilometer long and looked like it would soar into the sky. It gave off a majestic aura that could swallow the mountains and rivers. Associating the name of the canyon with the Thunder Emperor Valley, everyone was able to guess the identity of the person carved on the canyon. Rumble. Suddenly, endless thunder roared in the clear sky. When everyone looked up, they saw dark clouds churning in the sky. There seemed to be a vast army moving in them. The aura was overwhelming, and bolts of lightning occasionally tore through the sky. The berserk will of thunder reverberated in the canyon. This made everyone feel a horrifying pressure. It was like the next bolt of lightning would strike them, destroying their soul and dying without a complete corpse. When Bai saw the horrifying lightning in the sky, he seemed to think of the lightning from his tribulation. He paled in fright and hugged Xiao Chun tightly, unwilling to let go. Elder brother Xiao Chun, Bai is so scared. When Xiao Chun felt the trembling Bai in his embrace, he used his hand to cover Bai's mouth. He whispered, "Don't be afraid. Don't make a sound." This was the will of thunder, the purest will of thunder. Even after 1,000 years, it still inspired fear in people, not daring to move. No wonder the cultivators on the deck did not speak after entering the canyon. They were probably afraid of offending the supreme will and getting punished. Xiao Chun looked up at the boundless thunderclouds in the sky. He felt a strange sense of familiarity. The lunar shadow saber at his waist trembled continuously. It seemed very excited, like it would jump out at any moment. Xiao Chun used one hand to press down on the lunar shadow saber, preventing others from noticing anything strange. Ao Jiao, did you feel it as well? Xiao Chun thought somewhat sadly. Under this supreme will of thunder, he felt an insurmountable gap between him and the Thunder King. Unexpectedly, a will from 1,000 years ago was still so strong. If he faced the Thunder King, he wondered if he would have the courage to stand up straight. The canyon was very dark. The merchant ship seemed to have traveled for a very long time. When it charged out of the canyon, the sunlight shone on everyone again. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Cold sweat trickled down their backs. When they turned their heads back to look at the deep canyon, they felt a lingering fear. Xiao Chun let go of Bai and said, "Bai, don't be afraid. We are already out." Bai recovered some color on his face. He reluctantly came out of Xiao Chun's embrace and said, "Bai is no longer afraid. Elder brother, Xiao Chun's embrace is the safest." Chapter 366. Strange, there are no deaths or injuries this time. This is the first time I've encountered such a situation in Thunder King Valley, an older martial king on the deck said. Another old man continued, "That's right. I also feel that it is a little strange. It seems like the Thunder Emperor Valley is much calmer than usual today. I clearly feel that there is someone resisting this will, but the Thunder Emperor did not send down any punishment." Xiao Chun thought, could it be because of me or Ao Jiao? Some of the young cultivators at the side asked in confusion, "Senior, what is the situation? Can you explain it in detail?" The old man who spoke first said, "This Thunder King Valley is also known as the Valley of Life and Death. Every day, when the merchant ships pass by this valley, there will be cultivators who die or get injured. There are very few exceptions." "Why?" The old man smiled faintly. "Because there will always be some people who will resist this will of thunder unconsciously. In the past, there were strong martial monarchs who tried to steal this will of thunder. However, no matter how strong their cultivation was, there was only one result: death. As long as there is any delusion or resistance, the will of thunder will injure you. If you resist seriously, you will die. No matter how high your cultivation is, you will not be able to change this result. Perhaps only a sage can try." Hearing this, the cultivators on the deck who had resisted this will either accidentally or intentionally felt fear in their hearts. Is the Thunder King really that strong? He has been dead for 1,000 years. Why is this will of thunder not extinguished? Furthermore, it is still so mighty, the young cultivators asked, their interest piqued by the old man's words. The old man stroked his beard and smiled. There are 7 types of energy in the world. The lightning attribute is the most berserk and has the most tyrannical attack. Cultivating the lightning attribute is also the most difficult. This is because lightning represents the heavenly Tao in the natural world, the power of heavenly punishment. Similarly, the cultivation of the state of thunder and the will of thunder is the most difficult for all cultivators. The Thunder King was able to comprehend the will of thunder into the immortal will of thunder, which is comparable to the heavenly Tao. With such a tyrannical attack power, even the older generation emperors, who are of a higher cultivation level than the Thunder Emperor, would not dare to face him head-on. Haha, fighting with him is equivalent to going through a lightning tribulation. Who would be so bored as to let themselves go through a lightning tribulation? The old man spoke with fervor and assurance. It was obvious that he had traveled extensively and was knowledgeable. Xiao Chun recounted everything that the Thunder King had done in the various parts of the continent. This made all the cultivators on the deck yearn in their hearts. It was like they were in that glorious era, turning into the Thunder King, killing gods and demons, trampling on all geniuses and reaching the peak of the world. What's up with the statue in the gorge? Such a huge statue, it seems to cover the entire gorge. Without at least 1,000 people, it would be impossible to complete such a large work. However, how did a few thousand people coordinate with each other to carve such a perfect statue? Seeing that someone finally brought the topic to the statue, the old man continued smiling. If I told you that this statue was formed naturally, would you believe me? How can that be? The surrounding young cultivators all shook their heads. When the old man heard this, he laughed loudly. You youngsters have pretty good talent. You are already peak superior grade martial saints at the age of 24-25. However, you are still too inexperienced to think about going to the treasure trove. Another old man at the side was a superior grade martial king. He said indifferently, in the future, if you have the opportunity to go to the ancient desolate land and see the statue of the first Tianwu emperor, you will know that these words are true. Indeed, in the end, the youngsters are still too inexperienced. On this trip to the treasure trove, you will definitely meet with experts from other nations. At that time, you might not even be able to keep your lives, another old martial king said. Furthermore, don't think that just because you're dressed up, you're a white-robed bladesman. How childish. Someone brought up the same topic again. When the bladesmen in white robes with blue strips of cloth on their heads heard this, they all felt somewhat embarrassed. They did not know how to answer. The topic slowly returned to reality, to the destination of the group. The older generation cultivators all spoke up to discourage these youngsters. Actually, these old men were just reminding the crowd that if they met with experts from other nations, they would not even know how they died if they could not calm down. These old men had good intentions. As for how many of these youngsters would calm down, they did not need to worry. The topics of these old men broadened Xiao Qin's horizons. This was especially so for the Thunder King's deeds. This allowed him to gain a better understanding of this legendary man. However, half of Xiao Qin's attention was on the deck, on the peak superior grade martial king who had hidden his aura. Many cultivators sat on the deck at the bow, quietly comprehending the will of thunder from earlier. These were all lightning-attributed cultivators. The immortal will of thunder that the Thunder King left behind had a strong effect on lightning-attributed cultivators. More or less, it would be of some help. Perhaps it would allow one state to advance further, or it would allow one to comprehend the state of thunder. Among the cultivators sitting on the deck, there was an old man in gray robes. He looked very ordinary. He was a typical, ordinary old man. This old man's aura was that of a superior grade martial king. There were many such old men on the bow. It was not strange for someone to be a superior grade martial king at such a young age. However, Xiao Chun could clearly sense that this person was a peak superior grade martial king. He was only one step shy of becoming a half-step martial monarch. He was extremely strong. This person was not a man of few words on the bow, nor did he brag about his past experiences. When he came across a topic that he was interested in, he would make some insipid comments, not attracting the attention of others. If it were not for Xiao Qin's spiritual sense being very sharp, he would not have discovered that this person was a peak martial king expert. This person is extremely dangerous. Xiao Chun kept an eye on him. The dog that bites is never the one that barks the loudest. At this moment, the merchant ship had already left the Tianwu continent. The Thunder King Valley slowly disappeared from everyone's sight. The continent also moved further away from the crowd. At the entrance of the valley, there were still many merchant ships slowly sailing out to sea. Xiao Chan withdrew his gaze and ignored the people on the ship, who were still discussing. He walked straight to the bow and looked out at the sea. All he could see was boundless seawater. The seawater was calm without any ripples. It was a deep blue. Occasionally, a flock of seabirds flew by. At this moment, the sea was very gentle. Before the calm, unruffled sea, one's field of vision was very wide. It broadened one's mind. The huge merchant ship broke through the waves and moved quickly on the sea. Now that they were on the sea, the merchant ship no longer had to worry about anything. It could move at full speed. Xiao Qin muttered, "Is this the boundless sea? It is indeed endless. I'm afraid that even if I spent my entire life, I would not be able to reach the end of this sea. Ha! This is not the boundless sea. This is just the coastal waters of the Tianwu continent. After we pass the Greenwind Island, we will truly reach the edge of the boundless sea. However, that is only the shallow sea. The true deep sea is even further. Suddenly, a drawn-out voice resounded in Xiao Chen's ears. He turned his head and saw the peak martial king that he had been paying attention to. He did not know when he had arrived. Xiao Chen was mildly startled, but his expression did not change. He smiled faintly and said, "Old senior, it looks like you are very knowledgeable. You seem to understand the boundless sea very well. Can you tell this junior about it?" The old man smiled gently and said, "I do not dare to address myself as senior. In the world of cultivators, the strong are respected, not by age. This old man is called Wu Shangshuan. If little brother does not mind, you can call me Old Wu. Old Wu, please explain it to this junior." Xiao Chen said softly. He also wanted to know what the situation of the boundless sea was like, so he did not mind chatting a little more. Wu Shangshuan looked at the boundless sea and said sullenly, "The boundless sea has a total of 4 directions: the eastern sea, the western sea, the southern sea, and the northern sea. The merchant ship we are on is heading to the western sea. The true boundless sea is divided into the deep sea and the shallow sea. Currently, humans only have control over the shallow sea. As for the deep sea, it is too mysterious. This old man does not know much about it. There are countless islands in each direction of shallow seas, and there are also countless powerful sections. Apart from the East Sea, the other 3 directions of shallow seas all have a dominant sect, which is relatively stable." Xiao Chen thought for a while and asked, "How strong are the sects in the boundless sea compared to the sects in my great Qi nation? If compared to the western shallow sea, they can barely be considered a second-rate power. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion could be considered a first-rate power in the past. However, now it can only be considered a second-rate power. If we include the Heavenly Craft Manor, it might be better." Xiao Chen was somewhat surprised. Could it be that the Heavenly Craft Manor is stronger than the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? "What do you mean?" "Haha. If you go out more, you will discover that many of the spirit weapons of the cultivators in the continent are made by the Heavenly Craft Manor. Even in the Great G Nation, this is very obvious. In terms of fame, the 3 great sects are not as famous as the Heavenly Craft Manor. Think about it carefully. If such a profitable sect does not have a certain level of strength, why did the royal court and the other sects not dare to swallow it up?" Xiao Chen had not thought of this unless he had a strong backer. If not, there was only one reason. The Heavenly Craft Manor had its own hidden power. When Wu Shangshuan spoke up to this point, he suddenly paused. He said, "White-robed bladesman, for you to be so interested in the boundless sea's powers, aside from going to the Greenwind Island, are you planning to go to the boundless sea as well?" Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. He smiled and said, "Old Wu must be joking. How am I the white-robed bladesman? I only wear white robes. Stop denying it. You are observing me, but I am observing you as well," Wu Shangshuan said calmly as he looked into the distance. Xiao Chen's heart sank. It looked like this person might have discovered his identity. Otherwise, he would not have come over to talk to him for no reason. Wu Shangshuan continued, "There is no need to be nervous. This old man is actually looking for you to discuss the matter of the Savannah King's treasure. I have been to that island twice before. This is my 3rd time." Chapter 367. Wu Shangshuan had actually gone there twice already. This surprised Xiao Chen greatly. For him to be able to escape unscathed twice, this person's strength was probably higher than Xiao Chen had imagined. The first time, this old man obtained 3,000 medial-grade spirit stones, 2 secret treasures, and 2 bottles of rank 7 medicinal pills. The second time, I obtained 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones, 3 secret treasures, and a bottle of rank 8 medicinal pills. That is how I obtained my current cultivation." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "In that case, it looks like Old Wu has made ample preparations this time. You should be able to reap a great harvest." "Difficult." Wu Shangshuan sighed softly. "I wonder which damned fatso spread the treasure map. Now, aside from the cultivators of the Great G Nation, the cultivators of the other 4 nations are all rushing over here. Fortuitous encounters were hard to come by. The Savannah King's treasures were undoubtedly a great fortuitous encounter. This was clear from Wu Shangshuan's 2 harvests. Who would not be tempted by such a fortuitous encounter? It would not be strange no matter how many people came. Most or all of the cultivators on the merchant ships behind Xiao Chun were probably here for the Savannah King's treasures. However, looking at Wu Shangshuan's expression, it seemed like there was more to his words. Xiao Chun muttered to himself for a while before saying, "Senior, if you have something to say, just say it." When Wu Shangshuan heard this, he laughed loudly. "You youngsters are really direct." This old man said, "So much because I want to work together with you to explore the Savannah King's treasures." Working together with Wu Shangshuan would be of great help to Xiao Chun. Wu Shangshuan had been to the island with the treasures twice. He would definitely be more familiar with the island situation than others. That way, Xiao Chun could save a lot of trouble. However, if Xiao Chun were to work together with a stranger of unknown origins, especially when the other party was stronger than him, the other party would definitely be the leader. If the other party killed him to snatch the treasures, he would be helpless. "Sorry, I am used to being alone. I'm afraid I cannot accept Senior's kind intentions." Hence, no matter how many benefits there were, Xiao Chun would not agree. The risk was too great. Wu Shangshuan promised some more benefits and tried his best to invite Xiao Chun to come along. However, Xiao Chun did not budge. He did not agree no matter what he said. "Haha, since little brother does not agree, then never mind. When we meet again, we will still be friends. This old man will take his leave first," Wu Shangshuan said with a gentle smile. A hard-to-detect venom flashed in his eyes. Xiao Chen's eyes were very sharp, and he easily caught this trace of hatred. This made him even more certain that this venerable Wu was definitely not a good person. However, if he had any tricks up his sleeves, Xiao Chun was not someone to be trifled with. Even if he couldn't kill him, he could still make him suffer. Brother Xiao Chun, that man was so fake. I clearly felt his murderous intent, but he was smiling so happily. I walked over and said softly. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said, "Ignore him. Don't come out for a few days. This person is not easy to deal with." Boom, boom, boom. Just at this moment, the calm sea suddenly surged with violent waves. The waves were 100 meters tall, and the huge merchant ship also started shaking. The sudden situation caused the cultivators on the deck to be astonished. They nearly fell to the ground. What's going on? This is still the coastal waters. There are very few storms in this season. Why are there such large waves? A few cultivators who traveled to the coastal waters all year round asked suspiciously. The ship was still shaking nonstop. However, the cultivators had already recovered their wits. After they circulated their essence, they were barely able to maintain their balance. Xiao Chen's feet seemed to be glued to the deck. The merchant ship shook without moving at all. He supported by and quickly extended his spiritual sense into the distance. Now that Xiao Chen's cultivation had increased, his spiritual sense could already cover a radius of 5 kilometers. If he used it in a straight line, he could see the situation 10 kilometers away. Soon, Xiao Chun understood what was going on. 8 kilometers in front, there were 2 huge warships engaged in an intense battle. The ancient demonic energy cannons fired at each other, firing energy shells without regard for the consumption. All sorts of resplendent energy beams interweaved in the air. The aftershocks of the battle created a huge storm. They kicked up huge waves that spread out to the surface of the sea. What a strong aftershock! Unexpectedly, each warship is equipped with hundreds of ancient demonic energy cannons. No wonder the aftershock is still so powerful even after spreading for 5,000 kilometers. Xiao Chun withdrew his spiritual sense and felt slightly astonished. That blue warship seemed to be flying the flag of the Golden Rock Merchant Association. The Golden Rock Merchant Association. Isn't that the merchant association of Kim Taeho's clan? The other warship was pure black. There was a black flag on the bow of the ship. There was a ferocious 9-headed dragon embroidered on the flag, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The two warships both had circular light shields blocking the energy beams fired at them. They seemed to be equally matched. If this continued, the two warships might sink at the same time. Dong! 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 A group of people came out of the ship's hold. They were the captain and the guards of the ship. Clearly, they were startled by the abnormal waves on the sea. The captain of a merchant ship was a middle-aged man. He was tall and had an imposing appearance. He wore yellow robes threaded with golden threads and exuded a vigorous aura. Unexpectedly, he was a superior-grade martial king. There were 8 guards beside the captain. They were all martial kings and were no more than 40 years old. This was the period when one's chi and blood were at their peak. Such a martial king's sharpness was much stronger than the old martial kings on the deck. If they really fought, their essence might not be as dense as the other parties. However, because their chi and blood were abundant, their sharpness was still present. Their chances of victory were higher. The captain looked at the horrifying waves in the distance and frowned slightly. He said to the person beside him, "Lu Sheng, your perception is as strong as a half-step martial monarch. Help me take a look at what's going on." The cultivator called Lu Sheng nodded and walked to the bow of the ship. He closed his eyes, and blue ripples of light shot out from his body. The ripples merged into the water and headed into the distance. This person's martial spirit is rather special. Furthermore, he probably comprehended the state of water. That's why his perception is as strong as a half-step martial monarch's, Xiao Chan thought to himself. Replying to Captain, "It is the Black Dragon Group's 9-headed dragon warship. It is fighting with the Golden Rock Merchant Association's Underworld Wolf warship," Lu Sheng said softly as he opened his eyes. "This is the coastal waters. How can there be a Black Dragon Group ship? Are you sure?" One of the older martial kings on the deck exclaimed in shock. Lu Sheng walked over and said, "Captain, should we go around?" The captain frowned heavily. He muttered to himself for a while before saying, "Are you sure there are only 2 warships? There are no other merchant ships or passenger ships?" Lu Sheng nodded and said, "I did not see any merchant ships or passenger ships of the Golden Rock Merchant Association within 50 kilometers. There are only 2 warships fighting." The captain's expression relaxed. He said, "In that case, there's no need to care about them. Raise the Merchant Association's flag and continue on our way." The Black Dragon Group normally operates in the shallow seas of the 4 directions. Why are they in the coastal waters this time? This is really puzzling. The Golden Rock Merchant Association's warship is here as well. Don't they usually operate in the shallow seas of the north? Why are they in the west? Could it be that these 2 clans are here for the treasure left behind by the Savannah King? If that is the case, our chances will be much smaller. When the many cultivators on the deck thought of this possibility, their expressions all changed. The Savannah King's treasure had already attracted many cultivators from the 4 great nations. Now that the Golden Rock Merchant Association and the Black Dragon Group were here, their chances of obtaining a fortuitous encounter would be even smaller. Wu Shanshuan's expression turned extremely unsightly. He glanced at Xiao Chun, and a strange light flickered in his eyes. It was like a venomous snake flicking its tongue. The merchant ship raised its flag and continued moving forward. After 2 hours, they neared the center of the battle. The waves on the surface of the sea surged even more violently. The waves they kicked up were more than 200 meters tall. They looked very horrifying. Resplendent beams of light shot across the surface of the sea, creating a screen of water that supported the sky. This made the surging sea even more chaotic. How wasteful is this? One shot from the ancient demonic energy cannon would exhaust 1,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. It looks like spirit stones are no longer valuable. A cultivator on the deck sighed. Seeing the merchant ship raise its flag, the 2 warships ceased fire at the same time. The waves on the surface of the sea surged for a long time before slowly coming to a stop. The merchant ship passed between the 2 warships very calmly. There were no waves at all. This is really strange. The firepower of the merchant ship is clearly not as strong as that of the warship. Unexpectedly, it can pass so calmly, Xiao Chun thought suspiciously. It could be because of some rules of the sea. For example, warships could not fire at merchant ships. Otherwise, they would be breaking the rules and would be attacked by all powers. Xiao Chun, over here. Just as Xiao Chun was thinking, a pleasantly surprised voice came from above. He looked up and saw Fatso waving at him from the 200-meter-tall bow of the underworld river warship. Xiao Chun hesitated for a while before saying to Bai, "Come, let's go up." The two of them pushed off the bow of the ship and flew up to the bow of the underworld river warship before the shocked gazes of the many cultivators on the deck. Earlier, Kim Tae-ho, what did he call him? If I did not hear wrong, it was Xiao Chun, right? It should be true. I did not expect this person to be the white-robed bladesman, Xiao Chun. He is too low profile. It's over. I actually mocked him earlier for pretending to be the white-robed bladesman. I have embarrassed myself greatly. When the people below verified Xiao Chen's identity, they all started discussing fervently. They had not expected the legendary bladesman of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to actually appear before them. When Wu Shangxuan saw Xiao Chan fly up to the underworld river warship, a deep sense of disappointment flashed in his eyes. He muttered, "How unfortunate. I was originally planning to make a move tonight. This brat is wearing 3 secret treasures. If I could get my hands on him, I would definitely gain a lot. However, as long as he goes to Qianren Island, he will still have a chance. It is not that easy to obtain the Savannah King's treasure." The merchant ship slowly moved further away. Wu Shangxuan stared at Xiao Chen's back. The greed in his eyes slowly faded away. "Ha! White-robed bladesman Xiao Chun. Now that you are famous, your deeds have spread throughout my great Tang nation. This fat brother will probably have to follow you in the future," Kim Tae-ho said with a smile as he patted Xiao Chen's shoulder. Xiao Chun felt his shoulder sink. He felt ashamed in his heart. Now that he had cultivated dragon tendon tiger bone, even without using any strength, he could withstand a blow of more than 500 kilograms. Chapter 368. However, Fatso's palm strike still made him feel heavy. It was easy to imagine how much force this fellow had used. "There is no need to be so exaggerated," Xiao Chen smiled, feeling somewhat speechless. Kim Tae-ho laughed and said, "Aren't I missing my brother? Duan Muking, Ji Chongkong, and the others are quite famous in the Great Tang Nation. In the previous 5-nation youth competition, these people all qualified for the second round." Xiao Chun had heard of the 5-nation youth competition before. It was a youth competition that was held every 3 years in the Great Qi Nation. However, very few people from the Great Qi Nation had entered the top 100 in the past few 5-nation youth competitions. Hence, there was very little news about the competition in the Great Qi Nation. After all, such disgraceful results were announced with great fanfare. It was like slapping their own faces. "That's right. Who is this beauty? Why don't you introduce her to this fat lord?" Fatso's eyes lit up when he saw by behind Xiao Chun. I looked at Kim Tae-ho and smiled gently. "I know you. You are Kim Tae-ho." Kim Tae-ho felt it was strange. "How do you know me? I don't think we have met before." "I has met you before. The first time we met, you took a sculpture that elder brother Xiao Chun gave you. I wanted to continue, but Xiao Chun quickly stopped her. If she continued, Kim Tae-ho's scandal would be exposed." When Kim Tae-ho heard Bai's words, an incredulous look flashed in his eyes. He muttered, "Brother Xiao Chun, this is I'll tell you in the future. I can't explain everything in such a short time." Xiao Chun did not want to speak too much about Bai's matters. Kim Tae-ho observed his expression and smiled. It's fine. I'll bring you to meet someone first. Miss Bai, come along as well." As Kim Tae-ho walked into the cabin and walked all the way to the top floor, Xiao Chun took the opportunity to ask, "What's going on with this ship and the Black Dragon Triad's warship?" Kim Tae-ho smiled casually and said, "It's fine. Recently, the Chamber of Commerce has been fighting for some maritime trade routes in the West. We have not reached an agreement with the Black Dragon Group on the key issues. Let's fight a few battles first. Otherwise, no one will give in. However, since I have seen you, there is no need to fight today." Indeed, with different cultivation realms, one's perspective on problems was different. The cultivators on the deck were extremely nervous about the battle between the Black Dragon Group and the Golden Rock Merchant Association. They said all sorts of things. However, when it came from the mouth of the person involved, there was no smell of gunpowder at all. It seemed incomparably casual, just like a fight between children. Ding, ding, ding. Melodious zither music came from the top floor. The zither music was very pleasing to the ears. It was like a puddle of clear water splashing down beside one's ears, complementing the melodious tune. It made one feel relaxed and peaceful. Xiao Chen had a guess as to who Fatso wanted to bring him to meet. Xiao Chun pushed open the doors to the top floor. Indeed, as Xiao Chen expected, it was Su Xiao Xiao on the elegant top floor, playing the zither with a calm expression. After Su Xiao Xiao finished playing, she picked up her zither and walked over. She smiled gently and said, "Young Master Xiao, it has been a long time." Indeed, it had been a long time. Since they parted at Whitewater City, it had been a year since Xiao Chun last saw Su Xiao Xiao. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said, "Miss Xiao Xiao's zither music is still as pleasant as before. It is just an elegant thing. I have embarrassed myself in front of young Master Xiao," Su Xiao Xiao said softly. Kim Tae-ho led the group to the dining table in the room. He instructed for some food and wine to be prepared. Then, they started chatting as they drank. After chatting for a while, Su Xiao Xiao looked at Bai and could not help asking, "Who is this lady?" Xiao Chen thought for a while and said, "This is my younger sister. You could just call her Bai." In the future, when he met people he knew, Xiao Chen intended to introduce them like this to avoid unnecessary trouble. Bai took a sip of wine and said happily, "Bai greets elder sister Xiao Xiao. Bai also likes listening to elder sister Xiao Xiao play the zither." Bai was innocent and lively. Her voice was melodious and cute. The moment she spoke, she made Su Xiao Xiao laugh. "Haha, in the future, if you have any ideas, elder sister can teach you." Su Xiao Xiao smiled gently as she looked at Bai. Bai said excitedly, "Thank you, elder sister." The group casually talked about their encounters. After that, Su Xiao Xiao asked, "Young Master Xiao, you probably came to the Green Wind Island for the Savannah King's treasure, right?" Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Yes, I'm just trying my luck. I want to see if I have any fortuitous encounters." "What about after that?" Su Xiao Xiao continued to ask. Xiao Chen thought for a while and smiled gently. "After that, I will go back to the various nations to temper myself. One cannot be a frog in a well. I have to go out and explore. If there is an opportunity, I hope to travel the entire Tianwu continent and see the geniuses and outstanding talents of various places." There was still something he did not say in his heart. That was to defeat all these geniuses one by one and never stop on the path to the peak. When Su Xiao Xiao heard this, she was not surprised. She said, "This time, for the sake of the Savannah King's treasure, many of the young talents of the various nations have come to the Green Wind Island. They are holding a small gathering on the island. If you want to go, I can be the middleman." Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. The Great Qi nation was the weakest of the 4 great nations. There were only 3 great sects in the nation. Compared to the other great nations, the Great Qi nation was far inferior. Xiao Chen's purpose in coming out was to see the world. Su Xiao Xiao's suggestion moved him. "However, before you agree, you have to be mentally prepared. These people are all arrogant and unruly. Their temperaments are very high. It is hard to avoid a clash of words." Su Xiao Xiao reminded Xiao Chen when she saw that he was tempted. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "No problem, I can understand. It was hard for youths to avoid showing off their abilities. This was especially so for these geniuses with higher talent. Most of them thought highly of themselves. Since Xiao Chen started out, he had seen a lot of such people. He completely understood Su Xiao Xiao's words. However, he was no longer that impatient youth of the past. Now he was still as sharp as before. It was just that he was much more reserved. His 1 year in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had matured his mental state. From Xiao Chen's eyes, Su Xiao Xiao could tell that Xiao Chen had matured a lot, so she did not say anything more. Kim Tae-ho, who was at the side, said seriously, "Xiao Chen, the sects of the other 4 nations are very competitive. The competition is much stronger than in the Great Qi nation. Even if your talent is the same, the environment you are in is different. Your cultivation is on a different level. In this small gathering, There are 5 people who are not weaker than you. The host of the gathering, Jin Wuji, is one of the top 100 contestants of the previous 4-nation youth competition. Xiao Chen understood what Kim Tae-ho meant. He was reminding him not to be careless. Otherwise, he might end up suffering a huge setback. Actually, there was no need for Kim Tae-ho to say it. Xiao Chen already knew that the world was very big. Especially in this era, there were as many geniuses as there were beasts. The battle at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had solidified Xiao Chen's confidence, making him sharper. However, he had never been arrogant to the point that he was undefeatable and looked down on the heroes of the world. After the meal, under the strong request of the 3, Su Xiaoxiao played a few more tunes for the crowd. Su Xiaoxiao's tunes were ethereal and lively. One would never get tired of listening to them. They could clearly feel the state of the tunes. Sometimes it was the peak of a green mountain. Sometimes it was a small bridge with flowing water. Sometimes it was a cool breeze. And sometimes it was a powerful army with lofty aspirations. The various states changed naturally and smoothly, without any stiffness. After Su Xiaoxiao finished playing a few tunes, the beautiful tunes still lingered in everyone's ears, lingering for a long time. When Bai heard this, he immediately pestered Su Xiaoxiao, wanted her to teach him how to play the zither. Su Xiaoxiao liked Bai a lot, so she immediately expressed that she wanted to take her in as a disciple. Little White kept calling Su Xiaoxiao master, which made Su Xiaoxiao giggle from time to time. Kim Tae-ho pulled Xiao Chun to the balcony of the top floor. As the sea breeze blew, he took out a bag of spirit stones and handed it to Xiao Chun. He said, 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones. Consider it the compensation for saving this fat, lure the other time. Xiao Chun frowned slightly. He revealed an expression of disbelief. Since when did Fatso become so generous? I feel depressed. Old brother Xiao Chun, can you not show such an expression? Do I look like such a petty person? It is just 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones, Kim Tae-ho said, feeling extremely speechless. Xiao Chun said indifferently, don't say I look like you. You're won the first place. However, I still want these spirit stones. Although Fatso said it very generously, when he handed over the spirit stones, the fat on his face could not help but twitch a few times, revealing the pain in his heart. Xiao Chun smiled gently and placed the spirit stones in his universe ring. He said, let me ask you something. What is this Su Xiaoxiao's identity? She seems to be very capable. She can casually invite people to this gathering of the outstanding talents of the 4 nations. According to what Kim Tae-ho said, the level of this gathering was not low. Furthermore, the host was one of the top 100 participants of the previous 5-nation youth competition. If an ordinary person wanted to join such a small gathering, they would not be able to do so without a certain status and identity. As the sea breeze blew, Kim Tae-ho smiled gently and said, there is no harm in telling you. Her true identity is the young manor lord of the Heavenly Craft Manor. She is the successor on the surface. The young manor lord of the Heavenly Craft Manor. No wonder. Wu Shanshuan once said that the influence of the Heavenly Craft Manor in the continent was much stronger than that of the 3 great sections. With the identity of the young manor lord, it would be easy for her to get to know the outstanding talents of the various nations. Kim Tae-ho smiled and said, don't overthink. Just make your preparations. The warship is twice as fast as the merchant ship. We will reach the Green Wind Island in 3 days. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The sea was calm and peaceful. Due to some reasons, the Jin clan's warship could not dock at the Green Wind Islands harbor. The 4 took a small boat and headed for the Green Wind Islands harbor. The Green Wind Islands harbor was livelier than any harbor that Xiao Chun had seen before. Large merchant ships from the various nations filled the area. The small boat that the 4 were on was like an ant traveling through a giant statue. It was very insignificant. After they reached the shore, Su Xiaoxiao said, the gathering should start at noon. Let's enter the city quickly and not waste time. Before Su Xiaoxiao and Lu Shangshuan's astonished gazes, a silver warship shot out from Xiao Chen's eyes. He said softly, if we are in a rush, Then use this secret treasure of mine. The silver warship expanded according to Xiao Chen's will. Then it soared into the sky with a so sound, flying quickly through the clouds. Fatso stood on the bow of the warship and shouted, "Damn! Xiao Chun, the flying formations on this warship are actually intact. We can fly without using spirit stones. Are you selling this secret treasure? I will buy it no matter how much it costs." Chapter 369. Xiao Chan said indifferently, "Don't even think about it. Even if I gave it to you, you would not be able to use it. You need the corresponding method to control this secret treasure." Xiao Chun had managed to completely control the silver warship after he destroyed the ancient spiritual sense in it. He had also spent a lot of effort to repair it. How could he sell it to others? Soon, the silhouette of a city twice the size of Shihe City appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. Xiao Chen slowed down and slowly landed outside the city. Only an hour had passed. There was still some time before noon. Under Su Xiaoxiao's lead, the group entered the city and immediately headed for the most bustling restaurant in the city. Just as they arrived at the entrance of the restaurant, a waiter compared the portrait. He immediately came before Su Xiaoxiao and said with a smile, "Miss Xiaoxiao, right? Young Master Jean has already reserved the entire 4th floor. He has been waiting for you for a long time. Please come with me." The interior of the restaurant was very spacious. It was more than 200 square meters. However, the hall on the 1st floor was packed with people. It was very bustling. The 2nd and 3rd floors were also filled with people. There were practically no empty tables on the tables. The entire hall was filled with all sorts of shouts and discussions. The situation only became better when they reached the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor was filled with private rooms and pavilions. Those who could come up here were not ordinary people. However, there were practically no empty rooms. The Savannah King's treasure actually attracted so many cultivators. This is rather surprising. The person who started all this, Fatso, laughed shamelessly. The waiter leading the way laughed as well. Indeed, it is all thanks to that damned Fatso, who publicized the treasure map. This Fatso is now hated by everyone. However, our restaurant has to thank him. Since last month, our business has been booming. Hearing this, Xiao Chun and Su Xiaoxiao both laughed gently. Fatso's expression immediately became conflicted. His smile completely froze. Seeing that Jean de Bayo's expression wasn't right, the waiter hurriedly said, "Sir, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about that damned fatty who sold the treasure map. You can't be called fat. You're completely noble and dignified. That damned fatty can't compare to you." When she heard this, even the reserved Su Xiaoxiao could not help but laugh out loud. "You can go down first. We'll go up ourselves." Afraid that the fat man would not be able to suppress his anger, Su Xiaoxiao quickly sent the waiter, who was about to say something else, away. Kim Tae-ho felt very depressed. However, the waiter had already gone far away. Furthermore, the waiter had only said something nice. Even if he wanted to get angry, he could not find a reason. This kind of conflicted and depressed expression, every time one looked at it, one could not help but laugh. The few of them went up to the 4th floor. Compared to the 3rd floor, this floor was very quiet. There was no noise at all. The tables in the middle of the large space were all cleared out, creating a large, empty space. There were many tables placed against the walls of the restaurant. Cultivators of various nations sat at the tables, discussing matters of martial cultivation. Xiao Chen looked around and saw about 100 people. Most of them were inferior grade martial kings. Although a few of them had not become martial kings, their auras were very strong. However, Xiao Chen's aura was extremely strong. Clearly, he had been stuck at peak superior grade martial saint for a long time. Now, he was only a step shy of advancing to martial king. These people were all over the age of 20. Compared to Lung Liu Su, they were much weaker. However, to be able to become martial kings before the age of 25, they were worthy of being called geniuses. This was especially so for the youth sitting in the middle. He was handsome and had a deep gaze. His aura was like a ferocious tiger or wolf. Just by sitting there quietly, he gave off a faint pressure. This youth was already a peak inferior grade martial king. He He was also the only one among the 100 people to do so. The increase in strength of a martial king by grade was even more obvious than that of a martial saint. Without a high-ranked martial technique or a strong state, it would be very difficult to challenge an opponent of a higher cultivation realm. If Xiao Chun guessed correctly, this person should be the one that Kim Tae-ho mentioned. He was one of the top 100 contestants of the previous five-nation youth competition, Jin Wuji. As Xiao Chun sized up the crowd, countless gazes fell on Xiao Chun as well. However, when they saw that he was only a superior grade martial saint, disdain flashed in their eyes. Disdain flashed in Xiao Chun's eyes, and he quickly shifted his gaze away. However, his gaze lingered on Xiao Bai for a long time. A few of them did not even bother to hide their possessive gazes. Haha, I thought that Miss Xiao Xiao would not be coming. Brother Jin is here as well. Who are these two behind you? When Jin Wuji saw Su Xiao Xiao and the others arrive, he immediately stood up and walked over. Su Xiao Xiao smiled gently and said, "These are two of my friends from the Great Qin Nation. I apologize for not informing young Master Jin beforehand." Jin Wuji smiled casually and said, "What are you saying? Miss Xiao Xiao's friends are my friends as well. Please take a seat. Later, when another person arrives, the gathering will officially begin." Su Xiao Xiao looked around the hall and asked suspiciously, "Who else is not here yet?" Jin Wuji smiled mysteriously and said, "Let's keep it a secret first. We will know when she arrives. She is a major character. However, she just happened to be passing by. Brother Jin, don't keep us guessing. Tell us." Indeed. Who exactly is this major character for Brother Jin to treat them like this? Tell us about it." Jin Wuji was the first disciple of the Great Chu Nation's Heavenly Sword Gate. The Heavenly Sword Gate had a few supreme elders who were martial sages. In the entire continent, the Heavenly Sword Gate was a first-rate sect. Furthermore, it was ranked rather high. Jin Wuji's status was already very high. Otherwise, he would not have such prestige, able to gather so many geniuses of the various nations. Even Jin Wuji had to show some respect to this person. It was easy to imagine what kind of person this person was. This person was definitely a major character. This piqued everyone's curiosity. Just at this moment, a strong aura suddenly surged in the direction of the restaurant. Everyone was startled and looked out the window. Jin Wuji's face lit up in joy. He said softly, "She is here." "Who?" A nimble figure floated in from a window on the 4th floor. It was a pretty woman with a curvaceous figure and a smile like the morning sun. She was wearing a green robe and flew in from the window. After the azure-robed girl landed, she withdrew her strong aura. She had an apologetic smile on her face. She looked around and said softly, "Yu Chensi apologizes to everyone. Something cropped up, so I am late." Unexpectedly, it was Yu Chensi. When everyone on the 4th floor heard this, they revealed astonished expressions. This was really a major character. In the previous five-nation youth competition, Yu Chensi was one of the top 50 contestants, ranked 36th. Going from the top 100 to the top 50 was a hurdle. Going from the top 50 to the top 10 was another hurdle. Every hurdle represented a qualitative difference in combat prowess. The most important thing was that in the previous five-nation youth competition, Yu Chensi was only 16 years old. At the age of 16, he was already an inferior grade martial king. Furthermore, he managed to make it into the top 50. With such talent and strength, he could be described as a demonic genius. Furthermore, the Supreme Sky sect, which Jin Wuji belonged to, was one of the 10 great sects of the Great Qin Nation. Among the first-rate sects of the continent, the Supreme Sky sect was a true peak power. There were more than 10 martial sage supreme elders in the sect. With such horrifying talent, the nurturing of a first-rate sect, and the rich spiritual energy of the Great Qin Nation, Yu Chensi's future was foreseeable. She was like a rising star. When Jin Wuji saw Yu Chensi arrive, he heaved a sigh of relief. He had thought that she would not be coming. He smiled and said, "Miss Yu, it is not noon yet. You are not late. We're just early." "Indeed, Miss Yu, there is no need to mind. We have not been here for long." When Yu Chensi arrived, She immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. No one cared that she was late. Jin Wuji invited Yu Chenxi to a table in the center. After Yu Chenxi was seated, he stood up and said softly, "I believe everyone came to the Green Wind Island this time for the treasures left behind by the Savannah King. I am indebted to everyone's generosity for attending this gathering. There are two purposes for this gathering. One is to avoid a life-or-death situation during the fight for the treasures. This is to let everyone familiarize themselves with each other first. When the time comes, everyone will obtain what they need based on their own abilities. We will make a gentleman's agreement that we will absolutely not do despicable things like sneak attacks or sneak attacks. Normally, everyone is from different sects of different nations. Normally, it is very difficult to get together. Today, everyone should take this opportunity to exchange pointers with each other and improve together, obtaining what we need. This is the second purpose of this gathering." Xiao Chun felt that this first purpose was not very realistic. Not to mention the people who came, there were also many experts who did not participate in this gathering. Even if everyone here made a gentleman's agreement, Xiao Chun did not believe that anyone would care about a gentleman's agreement when the real treasures appeared. However, he believed that everyone would still put on a show on the surface. One thing was different in front of others. "I, Lu Ming, support Brother Jin's suggestion. I can make a gentleman's agreement first. If anyone here finds a treasure first, I, Lu Ming, guarantee that I will not make a sneak attack." A stout cultivator carrying a large saber on his back said first. "I, Wang Hao, also support Brother Jin's suggestion. I am willing to make a gentleman's agreement." "I, Li Yu, also support Brother Jin's suggestion. I am willing to make a gentleman's agreement." As Xiao Chen expected, the cultivators on the fourth floor all expressed their support for Jin Wuji's suggestion. Soon, everyone had expressed their stance. Only the four people at Xiao Chen's table remained. Everyone's gazes were focused on Xiao Chen. Kim Tae-ho and Su Xiao had special statuses. They could be ignored. Based on Bai's aura, he seemed to have just advanced to martial saint. His weak strength could be ignored as well. The one they truly needed to pay attention to was Xiao Chen. He was a superior grade martial saint and had a strong aura. It was sufficient for him to break through the weakened waves of Qianren Island. After a long period of silence, Xiao Chen did not say anything. He could not be so hypocritical. Just ignore him. There are no experts in the Great Qi Nation. He is just a mere superior grade martial saint. Yet he is here to join in the fun. It does not matter if he makes a gentleman's agreement or not. Chapter 370. That's right. I think he does not even have the ability to break through the huge waves. He cannot even reach Qianren Island. What is the point of making a gentleman's agreement? However, perhaps he is self-aware and knows that he is weak. That's why he is embarrassed to speak. Seeing that Xiao Chen did not speak, some of the cultivators who found him an eyesore all mocked him. If not for giving Su Xiao face, they would have said even worse things. This was the reality of the Tianwu continent. Without strong strength, no matter where one went, one would not gain the respect of others. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He did not care about these words. He grasped his lunar shadow saber tightly and stopped Kim Tae-ho and Su Xiao, who wanted to speak up for him. The best way to refute was to use the saber in one's hand to prove it. No matter how loud one's words were, it would not be as direct as using the saber. Jin Wuji was upset that Xiao Chen did not make a gentleman's agreement. So many people already agreed, but you, an expert from the Great Qi Nation, did not. It was clear that Xiao Chen was not giving Jin Wuji any face. However, the other party was Su Xiao's friend. It was not good for Jin Wuji to be too obvious. A smile appeared on Jin Wuji's face again. He said in a clear voice, "Since everyone has made a gentleman's agreement, then let's not waste any more time. Let's start the exchange. Everyone should stop when necessary. We will compete one at a time. After that, the others can give their comments. This way, everyone will be able to gain some comprehension." Right after Jin Wuji spoke, two people immediately walked to the empty space on the floor. The empty space where the tables had been moved was very large. If it was just an ordinary exchange, it was more than enough space. The two of you, remember to stop when necessary. Don't damage the harmony. Jin Wuji was the host and also half a referee. When he saw people exchanging pointers, he reminded them not to damage the harmony. Haha, Brother Jin, don't worry. I, Lu Meng, know my limits. I will definitely not injure Brother Zhou. Brother Jin, don't worry. I will only use 50% of my strength at most. The two people who came out had gentle smiles on their faces. Their tones were calm, but their words were very hostile. They were competing with each other, not giving way. Jin Wuji frowned slightly and sat down beside Yu Chenxi again. He said, "Let's begin." Boom. Right after they spoke, the two of them each attacked. Their fists and legs collided in the air. The resulting shockwaves dispersed, and both of them were forced back by 10 meters. A moment later, they quickly rushed forward and started fighting fiercely. One of them had a fiery red pillar of light flowing around his body, while the other had a formless wind energy flowing around him. Of the two of them, one had comprehended the concept of fire, while the other had comprehended the concept of wind. Moreover, looking at the situation on the stage, both of them had high attainments. After exchanging over 100 punches and kicks, the two of them were equally matched. Both of them retreated, and this time, they finally got serious. Lu Meng took out the big saber on his back. The saber was 3 inches wide and 6 feet long. It was a fierce and thick saber. With a thought, the saber's body was immediately covered in a fiery red flame. The cultivator with the surname Zhou flipped his palms and took out 2 swords from his spatial ring. He held them tightly in his hands. Unexpectedly, he was using the rarely seen dual sword style. The sword was 5 feet long and 2 fingers wide. Its blade was completely snow white and flickered with a cold light. Tiny whirlwinds would flow out from the blade from time to time. Bang, bang, bang. The two of them roared ferociously and charged at each other. The cultivator with the surname Zhou used the special speed advantage of the state of wind to surround Lu Meng. The 2 swords danced around. Sword images flew around, forming a light screen that encased Lu Meng. The cultivator with the surname Zhou was very fast. In addition to the advantage of the dual sword style, Lu Meng was suppressed to the point where he could only occasionally counterattack. Although Lu Meng did not attack much and spent most of his time dodging, every time it looked like he was about to lose, he would make a move and destroy the killing move that his opponent had prepared. Thus, the two of them were unable to do anything to each other. Just from the looks of it, the cultivator with the surname Zhou had a big advantage. This was because Lu Meng could not keep up with his speed. Kim Taeho introduced from the side. These two people entered the second round of the previous 5-nation youth competition. The one with the saber is called Lu Meng, and the one with the 2 swords is called Zhou Lingheng. In their respective nations, they can be considered top-notch experts. They are now inferior grade martial kings. In the Great Qin Nation, their talent should be about the same as Ji Chongkong and the others. However, the competition in their nation is more intense than in the Great Qin Nation. Thus, they are stronger than Ji Chongkong. Xiao Qin nodded, agreeing with Kim Taeho's opinion. These two people had comprehended their states to great perfection. They were still a long way from consummation. However, it was not easy for them to reach this stage with their current cultivation. Who do you think will win? Kim Taeho asked as he watched the two of them fighting. Xiao Qin thought for a while before saying, Lu Meng. His comprehension of the state of fire is deeper. He already has something of his own in it. Every time he makes a move, he can instantly scatter the advantage that his opponent has accumulated over countless moves. As for Zhou Lingheng, he has only used the speed of the concept of wind. He doesn't have any personal comprehension at all. I guess that his comprehension of the concept is very likely to have been personally guided by a great teacher and not something he comprehended himself. The state of wind was not only about speed. Back then, when Xiao Chun fought with Murong Chong, he understood this. Nimble, faintly discernible, formless, casual, and ostentatious were the characteristics of the state of wind. When Yu Chenxi, who was beside Jin Wuji, heard this, a strange look flashed in his eyes. He looked suspiciously at Xiao Chun. As far as he knew, Zhou Lingheng's state had indeed been personally guided by his master. You are just an insignificant, superior grade martial saint. Since when are you qualified to comment on a battle between martial kings? How do you know that Zhou Lingheng is going to lose? If you do not understand, then don't spout nonsense. Don't cut your own tongue. When a cultivator who was on good terms with Zhou Lingheng heard Xiao Chun say that Zhou Lingheng was going to lose, he immediately retorted loudly. Another person at the side added, "That's right. Zhou Lingheng is suppressing Lu Meng. Even his ability to retaliate is limited. How can he be defeated? Young Master Jean did not invite you to this gathering. If you come uninvited, then don't spout nonsense. Just watch carefully. Wait until you are a martial king before you speak." Kim Tae-ho was flustered. Just as he was about to scold them, Xiao Li stopped him and said indifferently, "Zhou Lingheng will lose within 3 moves. Don't bother with what they say. They were just a bunch of clowns." Xiao Chen could not be bothered with them. When the truth came out, he would slap them in the face. Ignorant. How can Lu Meng win within 3 moves? Zhou Lingheng is suppressing Lu Meng. It is difficult for him to retaliate. How can he be defeated? Furthermore, he is defeated within 3 moves. Ignorant brat. He only knows how to spout nonsense. This person has probably stayed in the Great Qi Nation for too long. He does not know how high the sky is or how deep the earth is. Does he really think that after leaving the Great Qi Nation, he can still be an outstanding talent like before? The Great Qi Nation is the weakest of the 5 nations. To think that he is not embarrassed to voice his opinion here. The battle in the arena continued. The discussions outside did not cause any distractions. If an expert of this cultivation realm could be so easily influenced by the environment, then he could not be called a genius. Zhou Lingheng brandished his 2 swords with a hong-hong sound. Sword winds blew and a strong wind blew. He suppressed Lu Meng once again, and his aura rose continuously. When Lu Meng's aura was about to reach its peak, Zhou Lingheng's eyes narrowed. He held his 2 swords together, preparing to execute a killing move to end the battle. Dang! However, just at this moment, Lu Meng suddenly made his move. Once again, when Zhou Lingheng's aura was at its peak, he used a surging saber chi to force Zhou Lingheng's killing move back. This was already the 3rd time. Lu Meng had broken Zhou Lingheng's killing move 3 times in advance. Furthermore, every time Lu Meng's aura reached its peak, it would fall back to the bottom. Jin Wuji and Yu Chenxi, who were in the arena, shook their heads at the same time. As the saying goes, things do not happen more than 3 times. If Zhou Lingheng did not succeed after 3 times, then he would not have any chance of victory. Zhou Lingheng was going to lose. Damn it, he actually broke it again. Zhou Lingheng felt a sense of irritation in his heart. However, he did not care too much. Lu Meng could not catch up to his speed. He could still accumulate his aura again. Boom! Just as Zhou Lingheng was preparing to regroup, Lu Meng suddenly laughed maniacally. "Brother Zhou, don't tell me you still have a chance? Rise!" The aura that Lu Meng had been suppressing suddenly exploded out. A strand of fire soared up from under his feet. A ferocious beast appeared above his head, brandishing its claws and roaring. When the ferocious beast roared, Lu Meng's state of fire was raised to its peak. It completely suppressed Zhou Lingheng, whose aura had fallen to the bottom. The state of wind was quickly suppressed by the state of fire. Soon, Zhou Lingheng was pressed into a corner, unable to move. Zhou Lingheng's expression changed greatly. "It's over, my state is suppressed. My speed is no longer an advantage." Lu Meng drew his saber and hacked down. Zhou Lingheng blocked with his 2 swords. However, his strength was not comparable to Lu Meng's in the first place. Now that Zhou Lingheng's state was completely suppressed, it was even harder for him to block. Sweat dripped down from his forehead as he bitterly held on. "Defeat!" Lu Meng shouted and took a step forward. The entire 4th floor shook a few times and a huge force was transmitted. Zhou Lingheng was immediately sent flying and fell heavily on the ground. Zhou Lingheng had been defeated within 3 moves. Furthermore, it was really within 3 moves. It was exactly as Xiao Chun had said. The people who mocked Xiao Chun earlier felt ashamed in their hearts. How did this brat get it right? He is indeed only a superior grade martial saint. He must have guessed blindly. He must have guessed blindly. If we cannot tell, how could he? The few of them felt very sullen and depressed. They could only lie to themselves. Right? He must have guessed blindly. However, even so, I do not like him. He is too arrogant. If Miss Xiao Xiao was not here, I would not have been able to endure it. I would have made a move to teach this brat a lesson. It seems like someone can no longer endure it. Bai Shuiheng has already gone up. A man dressed in white with a sword at his waist walked over to Xiao Chan with heavy steps. He said indifferently, Bai Shuiheng, I heard your evaluation earlier. You seem to be quite strong. I would like to seek some advice from you. I wonder if that is possible? Fatso said softly, this fellow is Zhou Lingheng's good friend. He is here to help him take revenge. You better be careful. Jin Wuji, who was in the middle, frowned slightly and said, Bai Shuiheng, you are only a step away from becoming a peak inferior grade martial king. It is not appropriate for you to exchange pointers with a superior grade martial saint. Chapter 371. Earlier, Xiao Chan had embarrassed him. In his heart, he hoped that Bai Shuiheng would teach Xiao Chan a lesson. However, firstly, Bai Shuiheng was Su Xiaoxiao's friend. Secondly, Yu Chenzi happened to be beside him. At this moment, he might as well appear more open and aboveboard. Otherwise, he might attract the other party's attention. However, who knew? Xiao Chun completely ignored his suggestion. When he saw the indistinct purple electricity around the other party, he immediately became interested. The other party was actually a swordsman who comprehended the state of thunder. Xiao Chun stood up and looked at Bai Shuiheng. He said softly, I accept your challenge. Of all the states, the state of thunder was the most difficult to comprehend. It was also the state with the strongest attack power compared to the other states. Compared to the other states, it did not have many tricks to it. It only had a pure berserk offensive power. It was also the purest attack of the natural heavenly Tao. Since Xiao Chun comprehended the state of thunder, he had never fought with another cultivator who comprehended the state of thunder. Hence, the moment this Bai Shuiheng made a move, he became interested. Bai Shuiheng said indifferently, You speak so extravagantly. I want to see how strong you are. Don't worry. Don't say that I am using my cultivation to bully you. I will only use 50% of my strength to fight you. Xiao Chun held the lunar shadow saber in his hand and slowly walked to the empty space. He said indifferently, There is no need to go through so much trouble. Make your move. Very good. Let's see what qualifications you have to be arrogant. Boom! Electric light flickered as Bai Shuiheng drew his sword at lightning speed. A crack of thunder resounded in the vast floor, numbing everyone's eardrums. The instant Bai Shuiheng drew his sword, it was like a surging bolt of lightning, giving off an incomparably dazzling purple light. With the force of his kick, he covered the distance of more than 100 meters in an instant. The dazzling electric sword flew towards Xiao Chen's face. This sword contained the speed and berserk of lightning. Before the sword arrived, it kicked up a strong wind. The hair of the people behind Xiao Chun fluttered in the wind. They could not help but squint. What a powerful sword strike! After not seeing Bai Shuiheng for a few years, his strength had actually increased again. This person was much stronger than Zhou Lingheng. When everyone saw this sword move that was as fast as a gust of wind and had an earth-shattering momentum, they all exclaimed in surprise. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. When the sword was about 5 meters away from him, he drew the lunar shadow saber in his right hand at lightning speed. Dang! There was a melodious sound of weapons clashing. Most of the people did not even see how Xiao Chen drew his saber. By the time they heard the sound, Bai Shuiheng had already moved back 5 steps. His expression was extremely grave. What's going on? How did this guy attack? I didn't even see it clearly. Strange, I didn't see it either. When I heard the sound, Bai Shuiheng had already taken 5 steps back. Among the 100 people seated on the 4th floor, only less than 10 people saw how the saber was unsheathed. Xiao Chen's attack arrived first despite being launched later. Its speed increased to Mach 2 in an instant. He used the stronger state of thunder to strike the weak point of his opponent's sword technique. He easily repelled Bai Shuiheng's attack in an instant. Jin Wuji had an astonished expression on his face. He muttered, "What a strong state of thunder. He is clearly only at small perfection, but his foundation is several times stronger than Bai Shuiheng's. This person definitely cultivates a high-ranked, lightning-attributed cultivation technique." Yu Qinzi asked softly, "Who is this person? Does young Master Jin know?" Jin Wuji was slightly stunned. He did not expect Yu Qinzi to be interested in this person. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he said softly, "I don't know him. Miss Xiao Xiao brought him here." Yu Qinzi said, "Oh, then continue watching." Xiao Chen looked at Bai Shuiheng and said indifferently, "Use your full power. Your state is not as good as mine. You can only use your advantage in essence to fight me. Otherwise, you will lose to my saber in 10 moves." When the others heard Xiao Chun say such startling words in such a calm tone, they felt a strange shock in their hearts. When Xiao Chun said these words, it did not seem inappropriate at all. His tone was very natural, as though he was talking about something insignificant. Just based on this calmness, some people were already certain that Xiao Chun was not an ordinary superior grade martial saint. "Arrogant. Don't speak as though I will lose for sure." Thundercloud, sword chop. Bai Shuiheng smiled coldly and charged over again. Thunderclouds formed around Bai Shuiheng. Boundless electricity flickered in the middle of the clouds. There was a series of crackling sounds as electricity circled around Bai Shuiheng's body. As the thunderclouds churned, the aura of Bai Shuiheng's body rose continuously. He was like a treasured sword that was constantly being sharpened, waiting to be unsheathed. When the crowd felt the might of this sword, their confidence in Bai Shuiheng increased. No matter how high a state a superior grade martial saint state was, he would not be able to dodge this sword. Chop! A sword light flashed, and Bai Shuiheng's body flashed through the thunderclouds. He was like a bolt of lightning leaping through the clouds. Dang! There was another melodious sound of weapons clashing. Most of the people still did not see how Xiao Chan made his move. After they heard the sound, they only saw Bai Shuiheng flying backward. This was a very strange feeling. It was clearly right in front of them, but why did they always hear the sound first before seeing the scene? Jin Wuji muttered. Most people would be able to reach Mach 2 after slowly increasing their speed. However, to reach Mach 2 in an instant is too difficult. I wonder how he did it. Yu Qinzi looked at Xiao Chun with an increasingly interested gaze. He said softly, "This is just a simple drawing the saber. However, I have not seen many people practice it to such a level." Dang, dang, dang. Bai Shuiheng sent out another 3 moves. However, Xiao Chun broke them with 1 saber strike each time. Every time Xiao Chun executed drawing the saber in extremely fast speed, he would be able to find the weak point of the sword technique and break it with 1 saber strike. A strong state of thunder and an extremely fast saber technique. He is the white-robed bladesman, Xiao Chun. It is definitely him. The white-robed bladesman holds a long saber and a blue strip of cloth tied around his head. Furthermore, there are 2 strips in front of him. There is no mistake. A few people finally guessed Xiao Chen's identity. However, most of them had never heard of the white-robed bladesman before, so they all asked about it. The nations of these people were rather far from the great Qi nation. The news of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had not spread there yet. However, after hearing these people talk about Xiao Chen's deeds, the earlier contempt that many cultivators had for Xiao Chen vanished, replaced by grave expressions. If Xiao Chen had defeated Duan Muking and the others, it would not have been a big deal. After all, these people were not at the peak. However, the news of Xiao Chen easily defeating the Holy Land's outer disciples shocked them. Jin Wuji had a pensive look in his eyes. He thought to himself, "So, he is the white-robed bladesman, Xiao Chen. I finally got to see him in person today. I have received 5 strikes from you. It is time for you to receive 1 saber strike from me." Bai Shuiheng took a step back and gathered his aura. He said indifferently, "Isn't it just 1 saber strike? With my defense, I can receive 10 saber strikes from you." After Bai Shuiheng made his first move, Xiao Qian's interest in this place immediately decreased significantly. He felt somewhat disappointed. Although this person had comprehended the state of thunder, he had taken the wrong path. He only pursued the strength of his state and did not settle down to perfectly merge his state with his sword technique. Bai Shuiheng only focused on merging his saber techniques. When he attacked, his might was vast and mighty. His aura flourished, and he could easily suppress a state of the same rank. He could even instantly kill a state of a lower level. However, if he ran into a cultivator with a state stronger than his, and he did not merge his state with his saber technique, his moves would be full of openings. This was also why Xiao Qian could easily break Bai Shuiheng's sword technique by using drawing the saber at Mach 2. If it were another opponent, it would be very difficult to do so. Such an exchange would not be of much help to Xiao Qian. He could only end the fight quickly. ZZ. Using the power of thunder and lightning, Bai Shuiheng set up 3 thick and solid thunder and lightning barriers around him, from the outside to the inside, one layer after another. This was especially so for the last layer. It stuck tightly to Bai Shuiheng's skin. The purple electric light was as thick as a battle armor. This Bai Shuiheng says that he is not afraid, but he even used his trump card. He actually laid down 3 layers of defense. The people at the peak of the crowd laughed gently. Xiao Qian tightened his grip on the lunar shadow saber and looked at Bai Shuiheng, who was covered in defenses. After he finished setting up his defenses, the scarlet massacre throne in Xiao Qian's sea of consciousness flowed along his meridians and infused into the saber. The saber, flickering with purple electric light, immediately turned red and purple. Xiao Qian pushed off the ground and executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art, stabbing out with his saber. Bang! 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 The 3 barriers made of electricity only lasted for a moment before being easily broken by a Xiao Qian saber technique infused with the states of massacre and thunder. The surging force of the saber immediately knocked Bai Shuiheng back, causing him to fall heavily to the ground. Unexpectedly, he defeated Bai Shuiheng with 1 saber strike. The white-robed bladesman truly lives up to his reputation. Among the 100 of us, he can rank within the top 10. It is hard to imagine that he actually comes from a sect in the great Qin nation. Bai Shuiheng's defenses are useless before him. The sharpness of his saber strike is really shocking. Bai Shuiheng is too arrogant. After defeating Bai Shuiheng with 1 saber strike, the people who mocked Xiao Qian earlier immediately shut up, no longer daring to underestimate him. The crowd all commented on the fight between the two, giving an objective evaluation of Xiao Qian's strength. Indeed, it was as Xiao Qian expected. If he wanted to gain the respect of others, he could only use the saber in his hand. That was the most direct way and also the most persuasive. Xiao Qian performed a cup fist salute to Bai Shuiheng, who stood up. Thank you for letting me win. Xiao Qian had held back with his saber strike. The state had not penetrated Bai Shuiheng's body. Hence, Bai Shuiheng had only suffered some external injuries. Bai Shuiheng felt somewhat ashamed. Originally, he had wanted to stand up for his good friend. He had not expected Xiao Qian to deal with him in 1 move. He did not say anything and returned to his seat. Unexpectedly, he grasped the state of massacre. No wonder he could challenge someone of higher cultivation so easily. Seeing Xiao Qian return to his seat, Yu Qinzi felt enlightened. However, Xiao Qian's cultivation was still too low. His state of massacre was not as complete as his state of thunder. Xiao Qian was weaker than expected. However, his future potential was immeasurable.